Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sonic Comic Chaos. I'm your host, Silver1, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Ian Waffles. Ian, say hi.
Hello. How's it going?
Oh, it's going all right, except I fucked up.
Oh,
I made a mistake. Ian tried to warn me. He was like, "Hey, so I think if we add a fifth issue onto this, it might be a little too long." But I was like, "Well, but Ian, Eggman Empire will be too long if we add that issue on there." And I guess the story of this is just that I was fucked either way because this I was like, well, what really happens in this one? Like they blow up Tommy. There's some Chaos Emeralds. Shadow's sad for a bit. No, so much happens. So much happens. Everyone has like a B story with like an intense internal monologue. There's like 2 character deaths and 2 alliance shifts. And that's just the stuff I can think of off the top of my head. So, this will be like, so I guess like if you have to like clean your kitchen or like you're out going on a road trip, I guess good for you, but not good for me who has to edit this shit. Um, but yeah, I contemplated skipping Ace read your comments because again, this is going to be really long, but we had someone who was kind enough to do the math for us on Sonic's age from a couple episodes ago. So I feel like they deserve to at least have their work read out on the show. So from the missing bits 6375, to explain Sonic's age in this comic, yes, he is supposed to be 17 at Birthday Bash due to the wedding arc having Chad Daddy Jules say that he's 16. Of course, this doesn't make much sense because he should be 17 in the 1-year time skip, but it also doesn't make sense that he becomes 18 in Birthday Bash. Because if we pretend that Sonic did become 17 during the 1-year time skip from Mobius year 3236 when Sonic 16 to Mobius 3237 when Sonic 17, why has he become 18? He's already had his uncelebrated birthday. The only way this story can actually happen is that they are celebrating Sonic's birthday not on his actual birthday, but it also does not make sense because Scourge and Sonic are supposed to be born at the same age. To answer Silver's question, Scourge is mentally older than Sonic to the 1-year time skip that not as way past cool Hedgehog had. But to answer all this convoluted nonsense is that every living being on this planet should actually pay attention to what Sonic's point was in that little panel, and that is deep inhaling and then a link to the song "It Doesn't Matter" from Sonic Adventure.
well, there you go. I'm glad that got resolved. I'm glad it's just bullshit like most of the comics timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like I do need to scold our listener a bit because they used the SA1 version of "It Doesn't Matter" when the SA2 version is clearly superior.
I do like that one more.
It's good. It's good. But
by the way, well, I hope they'll be happy to know that when Loart and I release our Scourge video, we wanted to specifically meme into this idea of like how old these characters are, and so we were just like, fuck it. There's a part where we say, oh, it's Scourge's 17th birthday, which I'm pretty sure is not true. So
real quick, speaking of Loart, I haven't watched the Shadow video because I don't want to spoil anything for myself. But I did see there was a cover of "I Am All of Me" that was for that video that he released separately. Did he make that himself?
Yeah, he's made a bunch of music for the videos.
Man, dude, fuck that guy. He
I
can
know,
make music.
He's just pretty good at everything. He's got like a normal life, happy life. He's got cats. It all works out.
Dude, share some of the talent with the rest of us, man. Jeez. Anyway, well. Like I said, we got lots to cover today, so we should probably just hop right into it. So, Archie, Sonic the Hedgehog, number 168, Order from Chaos, Part 1. So we start with something pretty interesting that I actually never noticed in my previous times reading this, which is that we cut to Sonic. He's going to the lab with Rotor and Tails, and he's looking for Tommy. He's like, Tommy stole my guitar, which not really sure how that factors into anything. But we also find out that he broke some of Tails' machines and that he washed the Petri dishes that had Rotor's nanites on it. And now, originally when I read this, I assumed they were just setting up like, oh, everyone hates Tommy, so everyone's gonna feel really bad when something happens to him later in this arc. But given what we're about to find out, I think I assume we're meant to look back at this like, oh no, everything he did here was completely deliberate.
Yeah, the only one that seems to not be would be like his guitar, which like they bring up other things, which is that like Tommy, like when he had like the nanites in his shell, obviously he's been dealing with all that stuff and like getting into trouble. And then there's just been multiple times where they've had to like go out of their way to help him. where it's like, well, now he's still just kind of hanging around and doing nothing, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think it's supposed to be a mix of like giving the characters like a reason to like kind of put themselves in the viewers' shoes, because like none of them actually hate Tommy. Like Tails especially is going to be crying crocodile tears when he dies. But it's just like, I think it's just supposed to put you in the headspace of the reader, who that's why he was killed off in the first place, is nobody liked Tommy, and two, obviously it's Flynn, so he kind of has an extra layer to it, which definitely I would say is that he was getting, because he literally says he got rid of some of the nanite research I was working on. So it seems like there was like something specific that he wanted to get rid of, which is cool. Yeah. So I like how it kind of like mixes the two things. There's an in-universe reason for it, and there's kind of like a context, like, let's show that Tommy's a bit of a fuck up.
I'd like to think that in some way the guitar factors into to Adam's master plan.
Considering Adam's plan, which we'll get to, I would not be surprised.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, so then we cut to the egg layer, to Eggman's base, where he's talking to Adam, and he's like, I'm gonna beat Anonymous right now. And Adam's like, well, what does that have to do with deleting me? Because we see that he's deleting Adam at the same time. And then Eggman walks us through a bunch of previous seemingly unrelated stories, and we find out that this was all Adam's machinations, because Adam is anonymous. And there's a great bit where they keep referencing all these past events. They reference Sonic 136, 152, 161, and 162. And by the time we get to the last one at the bottom of the page, there's 5 asterisks, and they go like, oh, like, that's a lot.
As it goes, so it starts, it says, you might want to get your back issue order sheet ready. And then it goes, and then it does the second one, it says C. Then for the other one, it says, C, my gosh, it's full of stars. And then it goes, C, didn't we tell you? And then the final one says C, woo!
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty great. But
and then by the way, on the next page, because it would reset for the page, there's one and then a second one, and it says only 2 this time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty great. But so Eggman's laying all this out like fairly calmly, and Adam's like, okay, but what do all those seemingly unrelated events have to do with me? And then Eggman goes like, because I just watched you steal a Chaos Emerald and release Naugus, and like I know that you're anonymous.
Yeah, he's like, because you're a piece of shit, Adam.
And Adam goes, you've been spying on me, father? It's not very nice. And Eggman goes, not very nice. And I'd like to think that the intonation he had was like, not very nice. Like, just complete and utter disbelief what he was hearing.
Yeah, I always read it as like, not very nice.
Yeah.
He's just like, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah. But so basically Eggman's like, all right, I'm deleting you like to the Shadow Realm with you, Adam. And he's like upset because both of his robot kids are dead. And I will say that,
which by the way, I really like. So obviously we've recently had Sage, who is like Sonic, or like Eggman's robot daughter, who like, you know, he's come to really care about. And it's interesting how like Archie does this, because obviously like Archie Eggman's like the fucking devil, like like he's killed children canonically, and like drained people's of their bodies and poisoned them and like harvested their husks. So like he's like a bad man, but I like that his love for his children is more so like a very twisted, like they're my cool creations, they do what I want. But then like when he does destroy them, like when he destroys Mecha, like it's basically like he's cutthroat enough to kill them, like he has no problems with that. But when it's done, he's like, man, that sucks. I really liked those guys. Well, so like it's kind of like a more twisted care for them, which I think is fun. I guess if it were Adam, he would be like beep boop beep, boop beep boop beep boop, turtle noises, and maybe hedgehogs too, and bunnies and computers.
What the fuck are you saying? Oh, anyway. So we find out he wasn't deleted because he stored the last of his code in some nanites, and he put those nanites into Tommy. So now Tommy is like a cool robot turtle hybrid who Adam is controlling.
Yes.
And then we get back to Freedom HQ, and the nanites are activating in everyone. So they're activating in Nicole, they're messing up her like stuff, and they're activating in Bunny. And we just get like a really sad, like kind of terrifying scene of like just half of Bunny's body just like convulsing and flailing around and hitting people.
Yeah, and she's like crying.
Yeah, it's so sad. And the Chaotix come in and restrain her. And yeah, it's sad. But
It's where like it's where Tracy Yardley's art. I think like it's just I'm so happy that like he's the main artist on the comic. I think for like all these main issues for the main stories and for just a lot of pre-boot. He just does a really good job of like being willing to like contort the faces. So like when Bunny's like freaking out and crying, like you really feel like she's not doing well. Or like even Vector when he's like, sorry to be rough, Bunny, and like you just look at me so sad, you know?
he's so sad. But
yeah, and like even like Rotor, like I don't know, it just really humanizes a lot of these characters when like it's not like Vector and Knuckles are doing anything in this issue, but just by seeing their reaction to seeing Bunny in pain, you're just like, man, I like these guys. Like they're trying.
But so they're able to get Bunny restrained. They disengage her robot limbs. That way she can't, punch Tails anymore. Because Tails got like flung away while she was freaking out. And Tails' dad, not Tails' dad, Sonic's dad, is carrying him away to Robotropolis. And Sonic's like, Dad, stop that. He's like, sorry, I can't, Sonic. So then he takes him to Robotropolis.
The Nanite City.
Yeah, sorry, fuck. The Nanite
There's
City.
a lot of details.
Yes, because the Nanite City was specifically part of Adam's plan, which he will lay out here in just a moment. But but before Sonic's dad can get to the Nanite City, Shadow gets there first, and he meets up with Eggman. He's like, Eggman, you had me, we find out that Eggman had Shadow looking for Naugus and Mogul.
I guess we don't even really know if that's even true, because it might have been that Adam told him to do that. But I mean, regardless, like it's all part of Adam's plan.
Oh yeah. Well, it seems like because he says something later to the effect of like, I needed Shadow out of the way, and that was a good excuse. So
well, that's what I mean. Like it's Adam's plan to like get them out of there. But I think it's like I'm just clarifying. Like we don't know if I guess like Eggman like was in the room and said, Shadow, go do this thing, or Adam went over the intercom and said, Shadow, go do this thing. But regardless, it's all part of his plan.
So Shadow and Adam fight for a bit, and ultimately Shadow is restrained. He's put in a tube because there's a big spire with some Chaos Emeralds on it. Yes. And there are two tubes, and one of them is for Shadow, and one of them is for Tails, who Sonic's dad brings. They put him in the tube. And so the plan is, okay, so Adam built the Nanite City kind of just on a lark in that one issue. Yes. But we find out it was actually part of a greater master plan. Because
we don't know if we had it like when he initially did it or later. I would assume he did it like after the fact, because his initial plan, because the whole point is to take over the world. That's what this plan is. So, and the initial plan was I'm going to spread out the nanites and eat the world. So yeah. So I would assume this was post that or like another plan he had. But yeah, this is part of his big machinations.
But he says here, do you see it now, Father? I built the Nanite City to hide this focusing spire. So it seems like they're implying this was always the plan.
Yeah, so I guess I guess he was gonna turn everything into robots, and then he was just gonna be like, and here's all the emeralds, and now you can kill everyone.
Yes. Oh, okay, no. His exact words are, I freed Mogul and Naugus to keep Shadow busy until I needed him. So that was the part of the plan, but Eggman seemingly was the one who gave Shadow the order.
Yeah.
Okay. I used Tommy to weaken the Freedom Fighters and obtain Tails. And so basically there's just like a lot of talking. There's a lot of Adam going like, see, this is part of my plan. This is part of my plan. And I needed Tails because he's the chosen one, so he can call the emeralds. I need Shadow's chaos powers to be able to bring the emeralds here. And he goes, don't you see how brilliant my plan is, Father? And Eggman goes, well, like convoluted, if you ask me.
I love the way he looks like it's like, ew, gross. I don't like this.
Yeah. And I love that it's like, that's what we in the entertainment industry call lampshading.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I just think it's very smart on Flynn's part that he chose to do this with a character that would have a stupidly convoluted plan, which is an evil computer.
Yes.
So it really works for because oftentimes in stories you'll have like lampshading in like we know this is bad, but in this way it's more like just enjoy the fun. Like like we're not supposed to look at this and go, wow, Adam's so fucking smart. You're supposed to look at this and go, okay, Adam, you do you, buddy, and then things go crazy.
Yeah, a couple other notes I had. One point Adam goes like, he was foretold to like unify the Chaos Emeralds. And in my notes I wrote, he was foretold to do that until the writers forgot.
Until they forgot, but Adam never forgot.
Adam never forgot. But so Adam flips on the machine. Shadow and Tails turn into Super Shadow and Turbo Tails. And the summoning spire is turned on. And what's gonna happen?
Yeah. Real quick before this issue is over, I want to show you the biggest art fuck up Yardley has like ever done. Go back to when Adam is putting Shadow into the pod. If you go to the top page, look how giant Eggman is compared to Adam, who is like the size of. of
I
like,
mean, you could. He's up to it. Like his Eggman's elbow is like kind of pointed up. So yeah, he's real tiny. He's real
yeah.
small.
So Eggman is made to be like a giant for some reason. The perspective's all off.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I have for this one. Now there's a B story. Should we finish this main plot first and then go back?
Here's what I did. In the Sonic Saga series, they do Order from Chaos, and then they do the 2B stories, and then they do the rest of the issues. So I'm thinking we do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So then we're moving on to Archie Sonic the Hedgehog number 169. This is a funny number. Order from Chaos Part 2.
Because Tommy Turtle gets fucked.
No. That does not happen.
What happens?
Well, before anything, I should point out this cover.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Sonic's mouth's a little big, but whatever. And it's one that always captured my imagination. Kind of before I read it, because it was like, oh man, we got Super Sonic, Super Shadow, and Tails.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about Turbo Tails up until this point. So
Yeah.
I was like, at first I was like, I didn't really even notice the cape. So I was like, I mean, I guess Tails can already fly. So I guess he's just flying with Super Sonic and Super Shadow. Like, I don't know. I just remember seeing this cover and being like, dude, that looks sick. And ultimately, like, the super forms don't. Here's the thing. The super forms simultaneously do a lot and do not what you would expect given this cover in this issue.
Yeah, it's not a big fight issue, but they do get big flashy moments, which we'll talk about.
And that's pretty
but
dope.
the cover just looks awesome, and I really love what I really like about it is I like how there's like an orange kind of tint to Super Sonic, and I like that they give Shadow his lighter tint from the games.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, so I thought that was a fun detail. But yeah, it's just a really good cover. So
yeah,
and now we get the boy. Tell me the badassery of Sonic's fucking dad.
Okay, well, actually, yeah, my first note for this is literally fucking Chad Jules, because so we find out what happened was that after Jules delivered Tails to Adam said, go lay down and self-destruct somewhere. And so Sonic goes and he sees his dad lying down. He's like, Dad, and he goes like, oh, don't worry, son. He told me to just go self-destruct. And Sonic goes like, what do you mean no worries? Or well, his exact words,
no worries,
he says. So he's Sonic about it. He's like, and then Jules goes, he didn't give me a deadline, though at this rate I'm going to fall apart in about 40 years. And Sonic goes, well, I gotta have the day saved by then.
Yeah, he's like, I'd hope so. Yeah.
So
I love Sonic's dad. He has like hell on earth. That's his whole life. He's a fucking robot. He can't eat food. He's gonna outlast his family. He was in the Great War, got shot in the fucking head. Now he's like a liability, but he's still like, you know what? I'm okay, son. Haha, I'll die one day. I was supposed to kill myself, but I figured it out.
But
it's a very funny workaround. I just love the idea of it's like, well, because like the reason he gives is like, well, he didn't give me a deadline, so I can technically do it whenever, but I'm just stuck here. I just have to lay somewhere. So
yeah. And so then my next note is Ian probably knows about all this shit, because
yes,
then we get to Adam's big master plan, which is that. So for those of you who don't know, in Archie there are not just 7 Chaos Emeralds. Chaos Emeralds are like a naturally occurring thing. You need 7 of them to turn super, I think.
Yes.
But like there are lots of them.
Yeah, and they're just kind of buried in the ground or in little pocket dimensions, like little zones.
Yes, and they came from space. They fell from space, right?
Yep.
Well, we've also found out in the Lost in Space arc that there are different Chaos Emeralds on different planets. Well, we find out about one set of different Chaos Emeralds, which are the red Chaos Emeralds, or the Chaos Rubies, as they call them.
Yeah.
Which have different properties from the green Chaos Emeralds, which are that if Sonic uses the red Chaos Emeralds and tries to turn super, he it splits off a separate supersonic entity from him. Okay. Are any of these other colored emeralds? Because I'm sure these other like alien races, and also a lot of this is like from the Lost in Space arc. Are any of these other colored emeralds pre-existing?
No.
Okay.
So yeah, so the idea is that Flynn's kind of trying to tie everything together. So we're already doing this thing where like it's kind of like fate, and like Tails has to like unify the emeralds and all this stuff. So Flynn takes this fun idea of like, okay, let's take all the alien races that have appeared in the series and let's have it be that all the emeralds are from that, like from their different planets and stuff. And so it kind of like, it's one of those things where it's like, like, I don't know how you felt about it, but often in stories there's an attempt to like over explain things and like connect everything together because people like callbacks, right?
Mhm.
And oftentimes I find these don't work when you're over explaining character motivations or when you're over explaining things that are just like event just happened. Sometimes it's just fun for things to be weird, right? But since we already established that the emeralds are in space, like with the Thoraxia, the red ones, I think it's really cool that all the planets that Sonic went to on his little adventure are now tied back in as like, actually that's where all the emeralds are from. And then so there's that one, and then the other two are the Zorda, and then Kareem of Wheat, which is
Yeah.
the cream of wheat joke. So they, some of them come from his planet. So for me, I think it's like really cool. Like I really like this idea that it all ties together. And if anything, I just think it like if it was just like, oh, they just come from space, all the emeralds from everywhere. Well, we're not going to use all the different emeralds anyway. So you might as well make a spectacle out of where they came from. And it kind of ties it into Sonic's journey. So I think it's really cool.
Oh, certainly. It's interesting. Like I said before, the red Chaos Emeralds are shown to have a different effect than the green ones. And so, on the one hand, I do want, and this is something they just gloss over, and like, quite frankly, it's for the best. Because, like, they could have explained this. There could have been a throwaway line about, like, oh, when the Chaos Emeralds all came together, now they just basically serve the same function as the green ones. Yeah, no, basically it's just like presumably these other, 5 emerald colors also have like some weird property.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we'll get to it, but a certain character says that he changed their properties. So,
okay.
yeah.
But yeah, so Adam pulls them all in. There's one part where where Adam goes like, "Oh, the emeralds are telling me where they're all from." Because like, here's the thing, like, because he's narrating. He's going like, "Oh, the purple emeralds are from here, and the orange emeralds are from here." And he says like the reason he knows like the planet names and where they're coming from is because the emeralds are talking to him. Which like that's fun. Like I'm not complaining, but it's just like, oh, isn't that convenient?
It's like, thank you, Ian Flynn. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And by the way, I love the final page of all of the emeralds on the spiral. It just look, and like you have like Super Shadow and Turbo Tails like flailing inside the thing, and Eggman's looking up and sweating. Like it just looks so cool.
Looks kind of like cereal, doesn't it?
Huh?
Looks kind of like cereal,
It
doesn't it?
looks like he summoned all of the Fruity Pebbles of the
Yeah,
universe.
I was thinking Fruity Pebbles, but yeah. So he's like, I got all the emeralds, and so there's like a million emeralds in this big spire, and it looks awesome.
And then Eggman's face. That's
Yeah.
a meme face. I don't know how anyone hasn't used it.
Because no one's read this, but
It's true.
but so he's like, but the Master Emerald is notably missing. That's weird. And we find out that Knuckles' dad and
We're like, fuck.
yeah, Knuckles' dad and Dr. Evil are using chaos magic to like keep it in place.
Yeah. And like I love the island's like shaking, like it's gonna fall into the ocean and die.
Oh yeah, I've never noticed that. That's funny.
They're like shit.
But so, but yeah, Ben, we get like a little hint from Finitevis when he goes like, I can't, let the Master Emerald get pulled away. Like I need it for my nefarious purposes.
And it's just this is just really efficient writing for Flynn because as we find later, Finitevis is going to have to convince Locke and on some level that he is a friend. And so it's really nice that he just like, because this is something you would ask, which is like, well, the Master Emerald is the Master Emerald is 12, it's 11 Chaos Emeralds mixed with the 2 emeralds that were holding up Angel Island. And so it becomes Master Emerald. So it's a green Chaos Emerald. It's not special in terms of like, it's like a different kind. So you would ask like, what about it? So but you wouldn't want to spend the whole story on that. So Flynn is able to like efficiently just slip in this little scene of like, oh, they're holding it up. They make it to where it makes the situation feel even grander because it's not just Locke doing it. It's Dr. Finitevis, which also shows that he's very powerful. And again, as later, they're going to have to make a deal. Now you understand why Locke, who hasn't really spoken to this guy a single time, would be like, you know what? You look as shady as fuck, but you did help me. So, so it's just really efficient writing.
Remember that scene at the end of SA2 when they're like, Knuckles, we need the Master Emerald. He's like, you mean this Master Emerald? And it's like half the size of a normal Chaos Emerald, and he like pulls it out of his butthole.
It just changes shapes as they go.
I guess. But so basically, we cut back to the Nanite City, and Sonic shows up, and there's actually a fun bit earlier on where when Sonic first starts following Jules, Jules goes, Sonic, be careful, I don't want to lead you into a trap.
Yeah.
And so because of that, Sonic goes slow and like takes his time throughout the city as to not walk into a trap. And at some point, Adam goes like, "Man, Sonic's taking so long because he's being careful of a trap that doesn't exist." Like, so when Sonic shows up, he goes, "Oh, I was wondering when you'd show up." And so they fight, and it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool fight.
Yeah, I love the Sonic. He like runs up Adam's arm, kicks him in the face with like his peel out, and then just like the little pose he gets is he's gonna like fucking punch him in the face. Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah, but then Adam's like, "Well, you wouldn't hit Tommy, would you?" And Sonic's like, "I guess not." So, but then
you did steal my guitar.
But so then Eggman's like, "Look, man, if you can just keep him busy, like I can totally have the Egg Fleet come murder this guy." And Sonic's like, "No, Eggman, no murder."
He's like, "Well, I already called. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
I do. By the way, I do think this bottom. So like, oftentimes in Sonic media, Sonic and Eggman will team up, but just like this imagery of not only like Sonic getting up, but like Eggman is helping him up. Like, here, let me catch you, bro. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It just feels like when you look at it, it's like, holy shit, that's like, you can tell there's like a serious scenario where he's like, keep him busy, Sonic. We got this, bro.
Yeah, that's cool. But so then Sonic's like, all right, I got this. So he runs up the Emerald Spire and he absorbs some of the power and turns into Super Sonic. And he's like, all right, well, time to beat up Adam. And Adam's like you were saying, because he's also used the Emerald powers to turn into, I guess, Super Adam.
Yeah, super form.
Yeah, who looks dope.
Yeah, and the visual of Sonic bursting out of the panel and then like his aura coloring the background white, what would normally be white, is super cool. And this is again where like Yardley is just like a super efficient artist, and the arc is just really efficient. What we'll get to, which is that like Super Sonic and Adam, this is all we get for them like battling, because afterwards they're just hitting each other in the background. But like this shot of like Sonic coming out of the page to like be like, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass, it looks so cool.
Yeah, oh, it's so dope.
So it's like you still get your visual. It's like what you said, where it's like what you think would happen in the issue doesn't, but what does happen is still really, really striking, like visually. Yes, like it still gives that grandiosity.
Absolutely. But so Eggman wakes up Super Shadow and Turbo Tails, and it's interesting because they are in their super forms, but they're also like, oh god, what? Like they're but so they get up, and like you said, they color Super Shadow correctly, which thank fucking god. Like they're like one of my like Sonic fan pet peeves is when they will just like color like Super Shadow or Super Silver just like like yellow.
It's like, or it's like that's supposed, the visual flair is supposed to make them, unique. Yeah. And again, just to show that Shadow's a good boy. Like Tails is like, hey, can you help me? He's like, of course. Like, what do you need, bro?
Yeah. Also, Shadow looks kind of cute in this panel when he's like, oh, of course. Like,
well, we're gonna see some cute Shadow panels as we go. Yardley likes to make him very huggable, which I appreciate. But oh, by the way, this is just a tiny detail because I never do this again because there's never a time where there's multiple super people. But back in the old days, whenever the super forms would be around, they wouldn't just say like, oh, Sonic, I'm going to kick your butt. Okay, Knuckles. Like when they would fight, they would specifically call each other by their super forms. So like when they fight like Mammoth Mogul, they'd be like, oh my gosh, it's Turbo Tails. And then Turbo Tails would be like, Super Knuckles, Super Sonic, help me out. So I like that Tails continues this where he's like, Super Shadow, can you come help me? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so, so Tails is like, all right, I know what I need to do. Like, Shadow, come give me a boost. And so he has Shadow open a portal to the Zone of Silence. He doesn't specifically say the Zone of Silence. He's just like, open it to another zone.
Just anything that's nearby, basically.
Yeah. And so then Tails gets all the Chaos Emeralds and basically just like dumps them in there.
Yeah, he's like, get the fuck in there.
Yeah. And the exact quote is, what will happen with all that energy in such an unstable zone? And Tails goes, something special, I hope.
And then someone shoots their air horn. But the visuals of this whole page are just so cool. I specifically love the transition your eye will make from like Shadow putting his hands together and then opening them, because his hands are going into the panel. So it's like chaos, and then you would read control as his like hands open up. So it's almost like he's opening the panel next to him. Just really cool. Tails is doing like his little spider web things, and then the middle panel, or the second to last one, where they're all silhouetted, just looks so cool.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. But so yeah, he dumps all the emeralds in there, and the portal closes, and so Sonic's like, yeah, Adam, your plan sucked. Like the emeralds are all gone. Like give up. And he's like, no, I'm gonna fight and I'm gonna win. But wait, Tommy takes back control, and he's like, hey Sonic, what's up? And they have a goodbye scene where Tommy's like, hey, I'm sorry for causing so much trouble, but like, you saved me and you gave me the chance to, for a second, you gave me a second chance at life, but like Adam has to be destroyed for everyone to be cured of their nanite problem. So like, thank you and goodbye. And so he flies up and
he gets fucking evaporated.
He gets evaporated because Eggman's like, all right, Egg Fleet, everyone, all the guns, fire.
Yeah. And they even show they can't show Tommy himself disintegrating, but they show like the wings and a little bit of his feet. So like you see him turn to ash, but it's silhouetted. And then you tell me what happens to said ashes.
Yeah, well, so Sonic like slowly starts to turn back to normal in the air, and Tommy's ashes just kind of like waft over him, and he collects some of them in his hand. And then, at the very end, poetically, like, lets them fly free in the wind.
There's just a horrifically silent panel of Sonic just letting the ashes flow from his hand. And his face just looks so distraught. And it's just like, holy shit. And then it just ends with like, come on, bro. We got to get my dad home.
Yeah, it would be really inappropriate if any Sonic YouTubers had used this image when talking about a particular voice actor maybe leaving the role. That would have
Oh no. Oh no.
Look, I just needed a sad picture of Sonic, okay? And I was like, oh, he was sad.
You didn't know.
I mean, I did. This is the worst part.
By the way, I love how mad Shadow is that this happened. He's so fucking pissed.
So mad.
Well, he's like, that man was so fucking cool. I wish I was as cool as that turtle.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like we talked about how like Flynn cleans house respectfully. It's like, yeah, no one gave a shit about Tommy. No one liked Tommy. The reason Tommy is being killed here is because no one liked him. But that doesn't stop him from sending Tommy out like a badass.
Yeah, well, and like, so it's interesting, right? Like, there are, like, I feel more, I feel more of an emotion of shock and awe than I have felt sadness for characters that I even slightly care about in other series to this, who a character I don't care about. And I don't feel sad that he's dead, but I feel like, oh my gosh, what a fucking badass. Like, like it's interesting. I don't normally in stories, it's very hard for, like, especially if you know what the tone is for a series, for you to kind of be left in awe, because if you know, like, oh, this is a very exaggerated series, then if they do something really exaggerated, then you're kind of like, oh, fuck, that's really cool. Or if it's like really serious and they get really serious, then you're just like, oh man, they usually have to go to that next level. And there's just something about these fucking furry animal freaks holding the ashes of their dead friend who gets evaporated. It's so striking. And I love it every time I see it. And again, I've never cried for Tommy. Like, I'm not coming out of this being like, oh, like I need to like have a moment. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what the fuck?
No, I mean, it's heavy, I guess, is the best way I could put it. Like you feel it, like I will say these issues made me like not cry, but definitely get a little misty eyed twice.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
and one of them was this time. The other one, I'm sure we'll talk about it. In a minute.
We'll get to it.
But yeah, no, it's just a beautiful, awesome sequence, and like it gets memed on because like Tails is ugly crying or whatever. But like,
and I love it. Make him ugly cry. It looks great. It sells it.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I specifically love the because again, this is the thing where I just don't understand people. So people like Yardley, but they kind of like his more refined style, or they like maybe a little late pre-boot and then obviously reboot where he's more refined. I would much prefer he go back to the style of this, where he was not afraid to like just contort the faces to like fit whatever the emotion was, and really sell that like Tails is fucking broken, bro. He's like, oh my gosh, that guy's dead.
Yeah.
And so I really love that. I love Sonic's expression. Like he looks like he's about to tear up, but like he's trying to hold it in. And just like even the way this is the big like writing pro on this. Because obviously it's been a long time since we talked about a lot of the Tommy issues. But and you haven't even read his original issue. But the original Tommy issue is that Tommy sacrifices himself for Sonic. Because that is who he is. He's someone who believes in friendship and stuff. So what Flynn did here is he didn't go, Tommy sucks. He's always getting into trouble. Because in the post-space era, he's just getting into trouble, right? So you could read this if you didn't know any better about Tommy. And you could read this and go, oh, okay. Like if you want to be bad faith. And I say bad faith neutrally. I like in the sense of like good faith would be assuming the best and bad faith would be assuming the worst. But both of those things could be true. It's not a matter of like, whether it's true or false. But bad faith would be to look at this and go, okay, Flynn just wants to make us like Tommy by making him cool in a big heroic moment without earning it because he, Tommy was never like this before. So, oh, great. Now I'm supposed to care because you make it really cool, which you can do in a story, but I could see how someone could feel that way. But that's not true. That's what makes this really smart because Tommy's original, the first thing he ever did in the comic was sacrifice himself in a fiery glory for Sonic. And so what Flynn did was he just brought that back and made that Tommy send-off. He doesn't just save Sonic. He saves Bunny. He saves Jules. He saves Nicole. And the nanites obviously were transferred to a bunch of people. So even if Adam had left the scene, even though he wouldn't have all the emeralds, he could still possess more and more people. Jules would still have to self-destruct. Bunny would, they might be able to fix her, but Nicole would be ravaged. So Tommy is just doing what he did long ago, but in a really grand scale. And it's really tight. It's really like every scene just punctuates into the other. There's no wasted downtime. And so it just feels like bam, 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 bam. And then you just have this great culmination. So I really love these two issues.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's not much more I can say. It's great. But so
but now we have to be even sadder.
Yeah, we have to be even sadder. I would say if the last one made me misty-eyed, this one made me actually like tear up a bit.
Oh yeah, it always gets me. Yeah.
Which is Courage and Honor, which is the backstory or the B story from Sonic number 168.
Yeah.
And so this issue starts with Antoine. He's in his apartment.
Yeah, just be like his house.
Yeah, his house, whatever. And he's basically thinking back, like, man, my evil double really fucked up my life.
Yeah, I like him holding the picture where he's cut out of it.
Yeah, I should say the art in this story, just up top, it's not bad, but it's very off model.
So for people who don't know, the characters are like really stretched, is the best way to put it. It's almost like they have like rubber hose like vibes to them, especially like Bunny with like how long her ears are and her legs. And so like when all these characters are kind of like standing next to each other, like literally standing, I think they look a little weird. Not all the time. I think like I can vibe with the style, but sometimes it just looks off to where it's not appealing. But once they actually like are sitting down and you get to 1, 2, 3, 4, you get to the last 4 pages where they're sitting in the hospital room, it doesn't bother me at all. And I feel everything. So yeah. It's really just kind of awkward in this first part. And even then I don't think it's like terrible or anything because the colors are really pretty.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So this picture. So what is this picture? I actually didn't notice this when I was reading through it before. So
yeah, it's just an old picture of him and it would be the original Freedom Fighters. So before Bunny came, so it'd be like Tails, Sally, Rotor, or Boomer as he would have been called, and Sonic. And so the idea is that like this would be in his house, and evil Antoine saw that. It was like, yeah, fuck you, nerd, and he ripped him out.
Yeah,
so, and you can even see Antoine holding his sword in the picture. So
it's a little odd to cut yourself out of a picture. But or maybe from his perspective,
those are my friends.
Yeah, or I guess maybe from his perspective, he was like, no, the real picture is just me. Like, I don't know. Anyway,
I like that idea.
Like evil Antoine has walking around with that.
Evil Antoine even stole his Pokeball and threw it on the ground, so he's a piece of shit no matter what.
Yeah. But basically, it's like, you destroyed my life. Like, you destroyed everything. And Bunny comes in and is like, oh, no, he didn't. Like, I'm still here. And then maybe you can tell me what the fuck this interaction is. So Bunny says, you made some progress. It's orderly. And then Antoine, I'm not going to do the accent, goes, well, it's hard to read this sentence without doing the accent, actually.
It's difficult picking up the pieces.
Yes, but difficult picking up the pieces. Then Bunny goes, why go to the trouble was destroying all you love to thrill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's talking
Now
about
that
evil Antoine. Yeah.
evil was destroying everything regular Antoine loved.
Yeah, that's why the picture's destroyed. That's why the house is destroyed.
That's why his Pokeball's destroyed.
That's why his
Gotcha.
Pokeball's destroyed.
Why is there a Pokeball? I only just noticed that.
I said that, and you thought I was just making shit up, didn't you?
I thought, no, because not making shit up. But I thought there was like a Pokeball-esque object that I was not remembering from.
It was just like literally a Pokeball, but
there's literally a Pokeball. All right, then Bunny's like, hey, so the Antoine's like, yeah, I spent time with the evil freedom fighters, and they suck. Basically, he's like, I feel sorry for them. Like, and these exact words are, they have my pity, but not my forgiveness.
Yeah.
And
then she's like, all right, bro. And he's like, sorry. I was being edgy.
Yeah. And then Bunny's like, well, do you want to, this place sucks. Do you want to come stay with me? And Antoine, ever the gentleman, is like, well, before I do that, I have to propose. And then Sonic comes in.
And then Sonic goes, blue streaks. Your dad's going to die. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It's your dad. It's bad. Sonic the cuck tease. Sonic. You can't tell with the mood. Sonic, he's gonna eat your food. You gotta stop me, man. I'm gonna keep going until it gets really bad.
Dude, blue streak, your dad's gonna die is one for the history books.
Right up there with Pregnant Tales.
No. I will say, Sonic's hair.
His hair?
Drawn, well, like it's drawn like hair here. It looks like hair. He looks like he has long flowing hair.
Here's the thing, where Bunny, I think she looks kind of like weird in an unappealing way. I actually would not change how shit Sonic looks. I think he looks fucking jank in like the best way.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I genuinely like the bottom panel where with like the butterflies. He looks actually really good there. I like it.
Yeah, well, it's funny. So you made a comment a long time ago about how Sonic looks completely out of place with the other freedom fighters. And I kind of argued with you at the time, and I think even now, if I look at them in a lineup, like it's like, no, Sonic's supposed to be there because Sonic's always there. Here, though, looking at the way Sonic is drawn versus how Antoine and Bunny are drawn, yeah, I know they look like they're from completely different franchises.
Well, the funny thing is, even Bunny looks out of place from Antoine.
Yeah, look, she at least looks more in place with Antoine than Sonic does. But oh jeez, we're about to do that fucking sad death scene, and I'm just gonna be thinking about.
I'm trying to help you out, By the way, with this page though, I really do like the So Flynn is gonna make a lot of like this whole B story is basically supposed to be the Antoine wrap up issue. So in the same way that Flynn, is contextualizing all of the characters in Frontiers to kind of make a more cohesive story, he does that, but really, really good here with Antoine. And one of the things he even establishes with that is obviously evil Antoine, Bunny. But I even like that he slips in this little thing with Sonic, where so Sonic he talks about like, I don't know if I could handle losing my dad and all those things, but it's also really important because there is a story before the post-space era where Antoine's dad thinks Sonic is really cool and really brave, and Sonic actually notices this, and so he's like, oh shit, like Antoine must feel really bad, so I'm going to try to help him, I'm going to try to help make his dad see his son, in a really positive light and try to like kind of be his homie. So I really like that they kind of carried this over where they could have just found out, like anyone could have came over. But I do like that it's Sonic and it ties into how all of this is tying into Antoine's story, Yeah.
But so they go over to the hospital. They're like, and Dr. Quack's like, yeah, like basically they find out the poison that evil Antoine was giving the king, he was giving to what's his dad's name? Antoine Senior or whatever. He was giving him the same poison, but he was giving him a much higher dose. He laced his food with it because obviously Antoine was traveling with the king. So while DeCoolit Senior was at home, he was eating this poison food
like pretty constantly. Well, and also he wanted to make it a lot slower for the king because then that way he can make it slower and then he can have time to do all his little machinations. But yeah.
But so Yeah, so he's like, all right, I need to go in and see my dad. And Bunny goes in with him. Um, yeah, and just I mean, not no jokes really to be made here, but
Yeah.
like there's a great bit where Antoine's like, I'm sorry, I'm like I suck and I'm a coward. And his dad's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're awesome. Like, you fought Robotnik and you've stood up for your friends and like you did all that when you were a kid and like that, like you're great. Um,
Yeah, and well, and even the way Antoine kind of describes himself, he says he was a coward. He jumps at the shadows. But I like that he has specific things. So he says, "My jealousy divided the team." So that's referring to Mecha Madness, and or like and just kind of his like arrogance and stuff. And then yeah, him being like a failure to his father's name. We know that's really important to him. So I like that when his dad flips these things. It's just talking about like it's like okay, but even when you were jealous, you still protected your friends. You still overcame that. And so basically, the whole point of the scene is that Antoine has all these flaws, but he's consistently overcame them, and that's what he wants his son to keep doing and see himself for the person that he sees him as, which is this person who, yeah, it's like no, of course you have flaws, but you've overcame them. That's why you're so special to me. Which is like that's why I think you're so brave and cool. And then you can go ahead and he talks about Bunny.
yeah, and then Bunny, he's like, hey, like, you fought Robotnik and you make my son happy and like that's pretty cool. And she brings up like, well, yeah, but I did, I did something with Evil Sonic.
Well, that's not what they're referring to. They're talking about like when they made out at the Nana thing. Because remember, the girls already know that Evil Sonic was doing all that stuff. So
well, but okay,
because it literally says they kissed in 152.
sure. Well, okay. To be fair, I try to block out those issues, so I wasn't really the exact numbering. But okay, well, but I feel like the point of this was not so much that it was with Sonic, that it was with someone who wasn't Antoine. But
yes,
whatever.
of course, yes, of course. But I didn't want people to be confused that like, Bunny, are you stupid? You didn't bang Sonic. You banged Evil Sonic.
Sure.
That's just trying to clarify for the audience that
fair enough.
When they're talking about Sonic, they do mean that like her trying to make Antoine jealous by being like, yeah, like Sonic's my boy now.
Yeah, and basically he's like, look, Evil Antoine was being a dick at the time. His exact words are all is fair in love and war. Is he not worth the effort to make him jealous? Or
yeah.
And Bunny's like, yeah, I mean, yeah. And so Patch, fuck these damn fucking Frenchmen's names. But basically, Mr. DeCoolit is like, hey, if you two make each other happy, never give up on each other, and like, be happy, live happy lives, and your mother would be proud of you.
Yep.
And then he dies. And yeah, no, it's just, yep, I can't make any jokes about this.
No, the art's really good. It's also in memory of a relative of Flynn.
Yeah.
And then what I really like about it is it's basically just like, again, a lot of Frontiers, what people really like about that is that he's kind of taking all these characters and kind of like making them reflect on themselves. And my problem with that, say what you will about like, the outcome, but my problem was always that in those games, those characters didn't get to do anything to sell that change. They just kind of talk about it, and then it's like they're going to do it next game. But I feel like it makes such an impact to have a scene where, yeah, it is literally that Antoine is we're going to define who Antoine the character is. Because remember, Antoine has been out of all of post space because it's been Evil Antoine.
Yeah.
And then when he came back, he's just kind of been around. He hasn't had a character moment. So we need to reestablish who Antoine even is. And Antoine before that was, sometimes he was a coward, sometimes he was a strong, burly man like during Endgame, but then they would reset him back to a coward, and then and then he was evil. So he's been so many different things. And so the comic wants to reestablish that. And they did it in such a powerful way of what would be something that would be relatable. Well, we already have this idea of Evil Antoine. This also gives Evil Antoine something valuable that he accomplished, because he didn't accomplish anything during his time. So now he kills Antoine's dad. An evil version of him, a failed version of him, if you will, has killed his father. And now we're at this point where Antoine's thinking about all his failures and these things. And so it's just very relatable of this idea of like, a parent, like a loving parent telling you that they really care about you, and Antoine becoming a better, not becoming a better person, but basically the scene is less about like, Antoine, you need to do better, and Bunny, you need to do better. It's more so, guys, you're just fucking kids. Like you're doing great as you are. Do you love each other? Then don't get in your head all this bullshit. Just hold on. And I think that's really great. And then it just ends with a simple "I love you" from Bunny. So it's a good way to kind of reaffirm their relationship. It's kind of what has always been a thing that has bonded them together, is that where Bunny or both of them, they've been through this horrible war or whatever, but where Bunny, she had the story where she wasn't going to be able to get her body back, and she was worried about if Antoine would be upset that she can't become who she believes she should be, which is like a normal body. And he's like, I love you just for being you, and that's a great story, and that's also in a hospital. And then so you have this story where Bunny is now there for Antoine in his darkest moment, where his father's passing away, and obviously she doesn't really even have any family herself, and the family she does have we'll elaborate more on. So they're both these two orphans who the thing that brings them together is that they just choose to be there for each other. And there's a lot of relationships and stories where you have a lot of, romantic dynamics, but I always really appreciate that sometimes there will just be a dynamic in a story where the thing that brings them together is that they're just good to each other. Which, at the end of the day, that's what you always want. And since these, Bunny and Antoine are just side characters anyway, it doesn't feel like it makes them boring. It strengthens them, and it makes them like a really good couple. So I love Bunny and Antoine. This scene right here basically is why them just kind of being generally cute together in Reboot is like just fine to me, because I know that it goes much deeper, like their bond and their connection. And I just really love it. So I really love this scene.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, and I should say, just for context, it's in memory of Jane Flynn. I don't know who that is in relation to Ian Flynn, but figured we should say the full name. But just a really good story. But so moving on to another good story, which is
the last hurrah of Ken Penders.
Really?
He inks and letters this.
Ken Penders. Yeah, well, he went out with a bang, if nothing else. So Espio is infiltrating the the Hive Castle from the blah blah blah. Anyway, so he's going in there, and just a cool scene where he breaks in, and there's a point where he like interrogates one of the badniks to like get the information. And there's a really interesting detail that I've always loved, that Eggman programs the badniks to feel fear.
Yes, I love this too.
And Espio's like, why would he do that? And Nicole's like, because he likes to see people suffer. So like he wants to be able to make his robots suffer. Like he wants to be able to push them around and have it like, it's no fun if he's just pushing robots around.
Well, and there's a context to it, an extra layer to it that I really like, which is he says, without Snively or any family, I hypothesize he does this. So it's not just like, why doesn't, because he could just do this with like human servants, or not human servants, but, anthro servants or whatever. But she specifically makes it a point that he doesn't have any family to do this to. So I also like this idea of like, because remember, he already brought Snively back. And the kind of idea is that he's just like, if you've worked with me the longest, and then, Snively's like, I'm going to try to take over, right? He's like, yeah, but, when you do, I'm going to be there looking for you. It's like, just like old times, and they're smiling. And as, we often forget, but Snively is his nephew. And then like he wanted to have children with like M and Adam. Eggman has a very twisted view of family, but I think it's interesting that the comic is even suggesting that Eggman does care about family, even if it is just that he wants a family to control. But the fact that he doesn't care, but the fact that the idea is that family is like the component they're honing in on, I think is really cool. And it's just another kind of interesting layer.
Yeah, no, but
they make a great joke about this where they say, does waxing philosophically slow down your hacking? Yes, but it's a moot point.
Yeah, because she's already in. And so basically we find out Espio is here to learn about Charmy's kingdom, his family, find out where they are. And they say like, yeah, Eggman didn't keep records on that, but he has several image and video files of him like annihilating this kingdom.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's basically we find out like it's gone, like the kingdom's destroyed.
Yeah, there's just like a robot horde basically.
Yeah, and so then Espio goes, then Eggman won't have it either. And so he has Nicole set it to what specifically? To overload the power matrix to destroy the place. And so and Nicole keeps going like, Espio, that might be a bad idea. Like I would advise against. And he goes, there's one part where she goes, I would like to advise against this. One more, and he goes, duly noted.
Yeah.
And Espio is just so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he breaks out. He uses his tongue and pulls himself up into an air vent. And yeah, then he just breaks out and he's like, he goes with the other Chaotix, and yeah, they fly away into the sunset.
Yeah, and
It's
he says,
pretty
"Did
lit.
anything for a friend." So, which is cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just a nice little story for Espio, and it is very cool how Flynn has already established this connection between Espio and Nicole that will pay off like 80 issues down the line.
Yeah,
So,
quite a bit from now.
yeah, so it's just kind of cool going back to these older issues. And yeah, like Stephen Butler does the art. I think the shading could probably be a bit better, but like not even in like a terrible way, just more of it stands out as being different from the main issues and even like the previous B story. This one kind of feels a bit more flat, but not flat in a bad way. It just kind of feels like flat in the sense of like there's a lot of harsh blacks and stuff. By the way, I love that Stephen Butler clearly, he does the thing that most people do when it's like, well, you can't show actual like dead people, but when you have robots, you can do whatever you want. So he has the innards of the robot splout out of its chest, like it's like their guts.
Yeah, yeah, he
So,
sure does do that.
yeah, so it's cool art all around. And yeah, it's a pretty decent story. I like it.
Yes, but yeah, and so then we get into Archie Sonic the Hedgehog number 170, comings and goings.
Yes.
So we see Sally's with the king, and basically like he's not doing great. Like we said, he didn't get as much poison as Antoine's dad did, but he's
in a coma.
he's not doing swell. And so the plan is that and we have a really cool way that they intertwine more game elements, is that obviously we saw in the last arc that they sent the Chaos Emeralds into the Zone of Silence, and so which has now become the special zone because of that, although they don't know that yet. And so Rotor and Tails have built these star posts like from the games that they can use as portals to like go in there.
Yeah, and by the way, so there's precedent for this. Like, obviously, it would be fine if they just did this, right? But there's precedent for this because the Zone of Silence back in the like the end of the Gag era days, there was a bunch of issues where they had to go into the Zone of Silence to save the king. So they are like very familiar with accessing this zone because it's like one that's kind of just a part of their world. So it actually makes it's not even just like, hey, so you know how like Tails just sent it to like some zone? We like figured out how to get there, which again would have been fine. But it obviously makes the world feel more alive when it's like, oh, actually, they're just using a portal to go to the place they always go to, which is really cool. So they already have access to it.
And then, so, okay, I wrote in my notes. So could the Chaos Emerald plan not have worked on Antoine's dad? Like,
the Chaos Emerald plan.
yeah.
Well, it literally says in that story that this one takes place right before that issue. So they would have had to find an emerald. And also, like, I just don't know if that would work because he's poisoned in terms of like he's poisoned in the sense of like it's killing him. Max is poisoned in the sense of like he's in a coma, like he's just not waking up. So
fair enough.
And by the way, they make a point of this too, that when they heal Max, he's still in a wheelchair and his mind starts degrading. So it doesn't even like save him. It just like keeps him alive for a while longer. So it's not even like a full heal, which they also bring up when a certain special character is in a coma, and they say, "Hey, maybe we could use the emerald thing." And another character's like, "Let's not do that. I do not want this person to be a vegetable, even if they wake up."
Yeah.
So it's good that they keep all that intact, which is good because when you have the comics have a soft magic system, it always has. And soft magic just means like they don't define like what all the magic can do. They say Chaos Emeralds have infinite power, and yet like it does random things for everybody. So it would just seem that like Chaos Magic, it just does Chaos Magic. And so when you have a soft power system, it's up to the writer to basically keep it vague enough that they can do multiple things with it, but not do so in a way that's going to break your immersion. And so it is very good that they like Flynn keeps this intact of like, yeah, you're gonna go get this emerald, and even though it does heal Max, one, it's a different circumstance. And two, it doesn't really last very long. So they establish that the emeralds are not just a cure-all, end-all, basically.
Yeah, but so Sonic and Tails show up to Sally and go like, "Hey, don't worry, we got this." So they go through the portal into the special zone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, one more dumb thing. Also, you could just literally say they hadn't invented this machine yet.
Well, yeah. Also that.
So that's the most easy one.
yeah, fair enough. But so they go in through the portal to the special zone, where they will be judged by Feast.
Yeah.
Who's a big panda man.
I love him.
apparently was in a previous issue.
Yes.
He was with what, Naugus.
Yeah, he showed up and he shot lasers, and then we never saw him again. He's like, "This, I live here," and then we never saw him again. So,
and now he's God.
and now he's God, which is the most Archie Sonic thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. But so basically, yeah. So now this big panda man is God of the special zone, and we find out that when all the emeralds came here, he forged them into seven chaos emeralds that are multicolored, like in the games. I gotta say, I really like the way they're colored here in this panel where he like opens up his hand and they're there. Just like, I don't know if it's like it's kind of like a flat coloring. I don't know what it is, but I dig it.
Well, it just makes them stand out. Like you can like, yeah, it just looks really good.
Yeah. But so he's like, "Yo, what's up? I'm God now. It's pretty cool. Why you? But like, I remember y'all. You're cool. You helped me that one time. So what do you need?" And Sonic's like, and he goes like, "Yeah, look at these chaos emeralds I made." And Sonic goes, "Yeah, okay. So
can we have one?" The way I always describe this scene is this is like when you play a video game and you're just like, I'm going to kill all the enemies for a while, do some experience. And then you get to like a plot relevant scene. It's like, I need you, warrior, to go collect 7 skulls. And then you look in your inventory, you're like, I already have those. Oh, well, here you go. it's like Sonic and friends. It's like, all right, you can have the emerald, but first you have to like go beat the shit out of Ixis Nagas. But you did that like 3 hours ago. So here you go.
Yeah, and there's a great bit where Tails goes like, "Well, we need the chaos emeralds because the king," and then Sonic goes,
"Former king."
Former king. It's like, really? Sonic, is now the time? But so Tails is like, "Yeah, we need it to, so we can fix the king or the former king." I did it too. And so Feast or Feist, as Ian called him before, but
I prefer Feast, but it's Feist.
Feast is cooler.
Feast is way cooler, and it ruined my childhood when I was like, wait a second, Feisty. Fuck!
Oh, that sucks.
Just call him Feast. Fuck it.
Yeah. Well, he's been Feast in my brain for the last like 7 years.
Yeah,
so
Dude, me too, dude. I fucking hated it as well when I had to call him Feist for the video. Like it hurt me every time Lowart said it. So
and even worse, he said it in a Canadian accent.
Oh, gosh, disgusting. We already had to deal with the French.
But anyway, yeah, so he's like, all right, you guys are cool. You can have an emerald. He goes like, but know this, I shall not grant another chaos emerald so easily. Next time you will be challenged as I see fit, which we will see later.
Yeah.
But
I love this last joke where they're like, yeah, totally, bro. Holy shit, Rotor, close the fucking portal.
Yeah, I love where he's like, yeah, he comes there, he's like, close the portal.
Yeah. No, so this whole issue is a bunch of like mini scenes, and as you'll see, again, this is where like when people said like, oh, Flynn's a good writer, and they talk about like, and I'm like, nobody ever knows what they're talking about. Like they're talking about like Reboot or Frontiers. I'm like, no, this is where like Flynn is a good writer, because these scenes fly by, and all of them are trying to like hit an emotion or get an idea across, and each of them is just like really, really good. Like that one scene with like Feist, it's funny. It gets a lot of information across. The expressions are really good, which is on the art. And then just like it ends with like a really nice punchline going into the next scene. And it's just really efficient. Like I really love like the pacing of this issue.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's pretty cool. And by the way, I'm glad I wrote this down. That emerald is fucking huge. Like look at how Tails is like carrying it under his arm.
Yeah,
like,
which I really like that it's big. I don't know why they did that, but it makes it more feel tangible, I guess.
I guess, but you're supposed to be able to hold the chaos emerald like in the palm of your hand.
How's he gonna fit that in his butt?
That's a very good question. But yeah, so they get out. Oh god. So they put the emerald in there, and I really love Sonic's expression. Like the expressions are all pretty great on this page, but Sonic's expression where he's like got his hand on his face.
Yeah, he's like, they're gonna fucking kill this old man.
No,
because like they're all nervous. They don't know if it's gonna work. Because they say like it's heating up fast, and then they literally say it's like, well, with Charles's mechanical know-how, young Prowler's genius, and my medical says we'll do it. And you just see Uncle, like he's like, oh, flip the switch, and Uncle Chuck has his fingers crossed, like, oh, I hope this doesn't fuck up.
And then King Max does the SpongeBob meme where he's got the headphones in.
Exercised.
It's fucking great, dude. I laughed so hard when I saw it.
Sonic's face too is great.
Yeah.
Yo, that's way past cool. Can I try?
But so But yeah, so he wakes up and he's like, how, like, and so when he wakes up, he's like, how, and then Dr. Croc starts explaining like the magic science bullshit. He was like, no, how's the kingdom? And they're like, it's,
Which, by the way, in that one exchange, Flynn has done a better job of like characterizing Max in any positive light than like any of the rest.
yeah. And
That's
then,
like that's a very like noble thing of like he comes back to life and the first thing he asks is like, it's like, no, how are my people? You know, is everything good?
I was wondering if they were going to do, because it's been a minute since I read this. I was wondering if they were going to do a spin on, do you know the story about the president? I'm going to fuck this story up. Basically, there was a president who had to go in for like some surgery. And so during that time, he invoked, what was it, the 25th? I don't know. Fuck it. I don't know my American history. There's some amendment that basically lets a guy go like, I'm not president for right now. The vice president's president. And he did that when he went under. And then when he woke up, the first thing he said was the word, like the magic words to like take the presidency back, which were like, I retain the presidency. And apparently his wife was like super pissed. That's like, those were the first words. Not like, how did the surgery go? Not like, are you guys okay? That was your first words.
That's awesome.
And so I was wondering if they were going to do something like that here.
They just slap him and we just leave.
But so history buffs, I'm sorry for butchering that story. But anyway,
okay.
Do you forgive me, Ian?
Yeah, I was gonna. I as soon as I said that, I was like, "What the fuck am I talking about?" Whatever. I forgive you.
Yeah, but so he's like, "Oh, hey, and Elias, you're king now. That's super cool." And like, "Oh, Bean, you're here." Which did he call? Okay, I can't remember him calling her Bean in Archie. Is that a thing
It's
he actually did?
Sat AM thing, I believe.
Okay,
and I believe they probably said it like one time in like probably the gag era days, because in those days they were pulling more from the cartoon, so I'm sure he said it like one time. But yeah, that's a reference to the show.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, I knew it was from the show. I was just thinking, like, is that one of those Sat AM things where it's like everyone assumes is from Archie because it was in Sat AM, but it's like actually no one ever said that. Like, and there's a really nice touch where Tails, so like the Acorn family is all happy, and Sonic like taps Tails on the shoulders, like and like has a little thing of like, let's get out of here, like,
yeah.
And I just adore that like little panel. Like it's such cool like visual storytelling.
No, I mean just Tracy Yardley just fucking nails it, and also Flynn would have had to write that. So yeah, there's just all these little things that just makes it really good.
Yeah, and then they're leaving. They're like, oh hey, good job there, bud. Like, oh no, you did great. And then Sally shows up and she brings back the Chaos Emerald, and she's like, hey, go bring this to Merlin. And Tails is like, why? And she goes, I'm just returning the favor.
Yeah.
And so they go to Merlin, and I will say Merlin makes a really inappropriate joke here. Where he goes, patience, young one. This old charlatan has one more trick up his sleeve. Namely, I'm going to make Tails' parents reappear. Is that how you want to say that? Is that how you want to approach this, Merlin?
Like, he's not gonna be Tails. I know you've been really depressed because your parents have never seen you again and none of your friends wanted to find them, but I, the one family member who loves you, will find them. Instead, he's like, Tails, don't look behind the curtain, but it's your parents.
I will say also that joke would be a lot more appropriate if Merlin was sure that they were like, I don't know, still alive.
He's an optimist, not a realist, okay?
I guess. Silver 1.0, but
by the way, it's also very funny because Knuckles' parents aren't doing very well, so I like the idea of Knuckles internally being, motherfucker, don't make jokes you don't understand. Yeah. Where are my parents at? They're on a fucking island, and I had to leave them. You piece of shit! I'm not giving you the star gem, idiot.
It's like,
Knuckles is a cool guy, so it's fine.
He's like, sorry, Tails. I have to spite this guy. Like, maybe tell your uncle to stop being such an asshole. You know?
Yeah.
But so they teleport, and I like how the because it's the gray Chaos Emerald, the like fiery teleport effect is all gray. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But so I have so many notes for this issue. Okay. Actually, well, the note I had before this next is, fuck, man, this episode's gonna be long as fuck. Which, I mean, we're already over an hour in and we're about halfway done, so I think I'm right.
We're doing pretty good.
Before they teleport away, Sonic goes like, because basically everyone has like a job. So he's like, Tails, concentrate on seeing your parents again. Knuckles, you would like reach out with the chaos energies, and Sonic, hold on to something.
Yeah, and I love that he's not even holding on to the emerald. Like he just thinks he'll be fine. He's just poking it.
Yeah.
Like Sonic, what if like half your body gets taken?
Well, you know, I guess that'd just be way past uncool.
It would
you
be
know?
way past I'm dead, but you know,
Yeah.
whatever.
But
And he's like, man, where's my fucking girlfriend? Oh,
well, no, he says the line is, yeah, wish I knew where my girl Fiona was. She might have enjoyed this. Who refers to their significant other like that?
my
Like,
girl, an asshole like Sonic.
yeah, I guess, like,
Dude, we'll hear some stuff he says about Fiona later.
oh boy, yeah, we sure will.
And he also calls Tails a spaz, which is the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, can you say that nowadays?
I don't know. We'll say it's a reference to the artist.
Fair enough. But so we get to Argentium.
Argentium.
Well, there's no I, so is it just Argentum?
Yeah.
Okay. And the whole place has been wrecked because there are two different ships that are fighting overhead.
Yeah.
One of which is the Zorda, and the
Yeah.
other of which is
The Black Arms.
Yep.
Which is really cool. And by the way, you actually do see one of their ships whenever we see the planet. Whenever he's taking all the emeralds, there's one outside of it.
Yeah, it looks like a big potato.
Yep.
And so, you know, so the prowers just like roll up. They're like, "Oh, hey guys," and so Sonic like has to dash away because Tails like ran off to go look for them, and he like comes back.
By the way,
them.
implies that like when they teleported there, they were probably just like literally right behind them because like they reached out to find them. So, so Tails was just like, "Fuck, they're not in my periphery, Mom, Dad."
That's amazing. Yeah, so we also gotta love how the first thing they do is they're like, "Oh, hey, Merlin, what's up?" Which I guess fair enough. They know Merlin. They don't really know this kid.
Yeah.
And so then there's a cute bit where Sonic's like, "Go on, go talk to your parents," because Tails.
Oh
is
yeah,
like
and I'm sure Tails like stepped back probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, he walks up and they're like, "Oh, you're so big," and like, "Oh, Miles, like you, like this is great," and he's like, "Oh, people call me Tails now." They're like, "Oh, Tails," like, and it's so cute.
Yeah, and by the way, this is in like 3 panels. They like get this feel. Oh, I guess 5. Or yeah, 4, because it'd be the Sonic one and then down to the other one. They just get across like a real sense of like you immediately you're like, no, I get why Tails like loves his mom and dad and they love him, and I just really love like her playing with his hair and then like them like hugging him. You have the idea of like I'm never letting go again. It's obviously they're all in a big embrace. The way like he walks up to them, he's got his head down and they like look down on him. Like it's just so cute.
Yeah. So then they teleport back and Amadeus, which is Tails' dad's name.
Yeah,
he's talking to the king and he's like, "Hey, when we because Elias is like, "Hey, I'd love to have you on the court of Acorn," and he's like, "Oh, trust me, don't worry, I have a lot of ideas for Nuthull's future, which we will get to in a later arc."
I also like Tails holding his mom's hand and being like, "Look, Ma, over there."
Yeah, that's adorable. But so then Sonic's hanging out in a graveyard, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Fiona." He sees like a shadow, and it's like, "Oh, hey, Fiona. Why did you assume that? Like, did they have something set up here?"
I think he just
Like-
wants. He wants his arm candy to show up, and it's fucking Knuckles, and he's pissed.
He's so horny.
He is very horny, which has been established. But no,
Yeah.
I think it's just simply he was like he wanted it to be a moment, where it's like, oh man, my babe came looking for me, and it's like, nah,
Yeah.
your other babe, it's your first one.
Yeah, I will say Sonic and Knuckles are adorable here.
This whole scene is excellent, and this is a perfect example, I think, of again what I like about this comic over kind of the Frontiers dynamic they set up, which is this is basically the exact same scene from Frontiers where Sonic is there, and in that scene it's Sonic cheering up Knuckles. In this case, it's Knuckles cheering up Sonic, but it's a similar premise. But obviously, one, they get so much across with the expressions. But two, my favorite thing about it is so basically like the scene is just like Knuckles comes up and is like trying to have some small talk of like, what are you doing in a fucking cemetery, you big freak? And he's like, your girlfriend would like this, she's a big emo chick. And he's like, yeah, okay, fuck you. And then they're hanging out, and so they're just hanging out at the graves. I love that they actually allow Sonic to like carry over his emotions from Tommy. We didn't just like have a big moment and say fuck it, we're moving on. Sonic is like actually really bummed out about this, and he's like really contemplating like the future. And so where in Frontiers, Sonic is the one to obviously uplift Knuckles, in this, Knuckles uplifts Sonic. But just this one panel that I'm thinking of, which is right before they walk away from the grave, this one panel with their like expressions just means so much to me. The idea of it's not just like them being like, you okay, you big wuss, you better go up. It's like, yeah, you're a big slowpoke, that kind of thing. Just by their expressions, you can tell like Knuckles is being like jovial. Like he's not just being like, oh, I'm trying to be like tough. He's like, what are you calling a weak slowpoke? He's having a good time. And Sonic, what I really love about him is he's not like looking Knuckles in the face. He's closing his eyes and like kind of tilting his head like, ha, thanks, man. Like you get this vibe of like they appreciate each other, and like through the mocking, it doesn't feel like they are intentionally trying to mock and trying to hide their feelings. It feels like they both understand that they are trying to encourage the other. And then it ends with like a really nice mode of like, catch you on the flip side, Tommy. And then Knuckles breaks the act, obviously, entirely. And he's like, we won't let their sacrifices be in vain, Sonic. Like, we're going to be okay. And they go and presumably have Uncle Chuck's food together, which is really cute. The whole scene's cute. I love it.
Yeah, I adore it. And there's also a line where Sonic or Knuckles goes like, we don't usually lose so many so fast.
Yes, which I really love.
And I wrote my notes. It's like some kind of cruel god doesn't want to write about them or something. But
we haven't been treated this horribly since Endgame. What's the fuck's happening? Where's Jeffrey? He's gonna show up. But no, I just really appreciate that they remembered that like Tommy died. Like they could have just time skipped and just said like, off screen Sonic like dealt with it. But I really like that it's still bothering him, and it ties into the theme of this issue, which is that Sally's regaining her family, Tails is regaining his family, and so Sonic would feel like probably like looking for connection, and I love that he finds that connection in Knuckles, and then it even ends in a powerful way too, where he's like, it's like we've got friends all over the world, and Sonic is like, yeah, but I'm worried about one friend, and it's like, oh, who? And it's like, oh, he's thinking of Shadow, so like he's openly saying like Shadow, like I care about him, I hope he's doing okay, which is really cool. I really love it.
Yeah. But speaking of Shadow, then we cut over to New Megapolis, and Shadow is basically like, all right, Eggman, I'm tired of your shit. Like,
where's my shit?
Yeah, he's like, look, I'm working with you to get the answers in my past, and I noticed I haven't gotten any of those yet. So give me Gerald's journal. Or, I'm sorry, diary. And yeah, so we'll see more of that next issue. But then when we have a Mike Gallagher story. Yep.
Then old man Mike Gallagher shows up and he goes, "Hey guys, I can do references too."
Yeah.
And
it's not okay. I will say it's not that bad, but like I remember,
it's cute. I think it's very stupid, but like it basically this literally feels like you could rip it out of like the old issues. But like I do think there is a creative spark here, which is the idea of like, one, like where did all the classic badniks go? Oh, they go to like this little island. That's kind of cute. I love that Jaws is in a fish bowl, so he can get around. And then I just think it's really fun that he's like, yeah, like back in that issue long ago, Pseudo Sonic was supposed to fight Sonic. So now they're going to fight. But then they do like this goofy thing of like, okay, we all know what has to happen. You have to do a blue horn challenge. He's like, yeah, definitely. It's like, what the fuck? And then they just smash into each other and the whole place collapses. And he's like, well, okay, I'll leave now. So it's just dumb bullshit. And again, I think this is like the second to last time Mike Gallagher ever writes, but it's just so funny coming off death, reflecting on death, and reunion of family. Anyway,
yeah, I will say, it's interesting how this first page is a pretty like pretty on model like modern Sonic like drawing, and then it's almost like he like falls back into
he devolves.
Yeah, because like he's. Yeah, so basically the plot of it is he goes to like the island of like forgotten badniks or whatever, which is like a place where badniks were told to go if they were damaged so they could be either repaired or decommissioned. I find out that Pseudo Sonic from some old Archie Sonic story is there, which I only just now learned. Apparently Pseudo Sonic never actually met Sonic.
Yeah, no, the whole joke was that Sonic was out picking flowers for Sally, and they were poison sumac flowers, and so he becomes swollen Sonic. And he can't make his way back, and so Tails has to defeat Pseudo Sonic for him.
That's great. Yeah, so they fight a bit. There's actually a cool panel where Sonic's in the bottom right and Pseudo Sonic's in the top left, and like something about the pose and the expression on Sonic looks pretty cool. Yeah, they fight and then they run at each other, and then Pseudo Sonic like blows up and the island sinks. But they're like, "But wait, we have a bubble at the bottom of the ocean, so we're not dead yet." Ian, does this go anywhere?
Yes, there's a follow-up issue that like follows directly like what do they do in this little bubble? And then Flynn actually follows up because it's not relevant, so I'll just tell you now. But if you notice in one of the like right when they're about to smash into each other, you can see coconuts up in the corner. So he like fell down there too. And eventually he comes back and he's like, yeah, I was down there during the big nose challenge and I got fucking crushed. But now I've crawled my way back up. And now I work for fucking Mammoth Mogul and I'm a butler.
Yeah. I was about to say, because he works in the casino, right?
Yeah, so like he's here like in this little background panel, and Flynn like makes that a whole little like joke where like they show him like literally like coming out of the rubble, and he's like all silhouetted, and he's putting his fist to the side. He's like, I'm gonna bring back the Badnik horde, and now I'm a butler monkey.
Yeah.
And then Grounder goes, man, some robots have all the luck.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just curious because you might be shocked to learn they did not put this in the Sonic Saga series.
What?
So, yeah. Archie, Sonic the Hedgehog number 171. Yeah, 171. Which is titled. What is it? Is it I Am? It's called I Am. I wasn't sure if it was I Am or All of Me, but it's I Am.
I Am.
And this issue opens up with basically so Shadow is holding up Eggman with one hand, and with the other hand he's got Snively by the hair. And he's just like, give me the diary, guys. And Eggman's like, put me down, like I'm not giving you the diary. And he's like, Snively. And I just love how he goes, Snively, where's the diary? And Snively goes like, don't pull out my hair. And he's like, the diary. And Snively goes like, Uncle Robotnik's private study, I swear. I was like, Shadow. Why wasn't that the first place you looked? But
Shadow, he takes the direct route.
Do you think Shadow doesn't know how to read? Does Shadow?
Well, to be fair, he doesn't even have to read, so we don't know.
Well, no, for this I know, but like, do you think he's like, what is it? What's a study for? Because like, think about it. I guess he was around for the year Sonic was in space, but like, I was thinking like, because this Shadow literally was made, got put in an escape pod, watched Maria die, and then was immediately jettisoned.
Well, I like what this implies, which is because remember, in the issue where he shows up, they're like, oh, we haven't seen like Shadow like hardly at all during the year break. It's like, what was he doing, right? And like, you just got to go like, I don't know, he's fucking around. But I like the idea that he was like doing what Captain America does in like the Winter Soldier, where he's like, I gotta watch movies, I gotta learn to read, I gotta try food.
Yeah, except again, he would literally like. Well, I guess Professor Gerald might have just put that in his brain. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
He can talk, so
yeah, he can talk. So I guess you can make him read too. Point being, he rips out Snively's hair for wasting his time, and so he goes. And what I love is, so he gets the book, right? And you think like, oh, okay, so Professor Gerald's diary is like it's like a diary, but the book has been hollowed out, and there's a disc inside. Yeah.
So do you know why this is?
No.
Okay, so this is actually a joke that Flynn is making. So basically on multiple occasions they have referred to Gerald's diary as like a literal book, and then there are times where they have said like, oh, it's like a digital thing. So Flynn's like, how do I fucking make this make sense? Oh, it's a book that has a disc in it.
Yeah.
So it's just it's Flynn. He can't help himself to fix retcons, and but it's really funny.
Yeah. But so yeah, so it's like, all right, well, I gotta go find somewhere I can put this disc in. And so then we get to Freedom HQ, where Sonic's going into the bunker where Knuckles and Tails are. And he's like, has anyone seen Fiona? I'm really upset that I haven't seen Fiona at all. Hey, Tails, have you seen Fiona? And Tails runs away upset. And Sonic goes, I know Tails had a thing for Fiona, but I thought we dealt with this. How? How had you dealt with it? In what ways had you dealt with it?
I love that, but the second line is the funnier one, which is, if she keeps this up, though, he can have her.
Yeah.
What a fucking dick move, they to say.
What a piece of shit. I love
him. He's a fucking asshole. I love him. But it's just, and I love the way he walks in. Like, he looks like, he's like, guys, where the fuck is my babe?
So upset.
Yeah. And again, Flynn does a good job of, because the whole point of like why Sonic we get to House of Cards and stuff is that like Sonic isn't like a totally oblivious, because when Sonic leaves, Knuckles like, are you too far? He's like, I didn't think so. And then he's like, he gets on his thing, and then when Tails comes back, he's not instantly like, oh, what's wrong? He's like, oh, see, I knew he's okay. So like to Sonic, he's like, I don't know. Tails is like, maybe a little upset. Oh no, he's fine. Because like that, literally, the whole reason this is even happening is that Tails literally got in Sonic's face and said, I hate you for dating this girl that I like. And presumably Sonic just didn't talk to him. So now we're trying to like make that into like an actual character thing where this keeps happening, where Tails is clearly upset and Sonic is just like, is he upset? Oh, he's fine. Okay. That's as I thought. Because Sonic is a self-entitled asshole.
Yeah, he's not great. But in being not great, he is great.
He is great because now he's interesting, and
and
he's also just very funny. So, because I fucking who shows up and who,
yeah. So Shadow is running, and he's being pursued by some badniks. And they shoot and they damage the disc. And so then Sonic and Tails show up and they destroy the badniks.
Sonic is just being a fucking asshole again.
Oh, yeah. And so, and Shadow's like, you couldn't have shown up 10 seconds earlier. And basically, he's like, "Oh yeah, great way of showing your gratitude."
You're welcome, Shadow. I'm glad we could help. Your profuse gratitude is touching.
Yeah, and Shadow's like, "You're right. I'm sorry." Like,
oh no.
And he's like, "Look, I need to know what's on this disc. Like, I need to know who I am." And they're like, "Hey, man, like, don't worry, we got you." And I wrote in my notes, "People who hate this Shadow are weak and cowards."
By the way, I also love that Shadow is saying like, Sonic, please, like he's gonna cry. He's like, I need to know who I am. I need to self-actualize. And Sonic's like, look, bitch, we got you.
He's absolutely making that pose.
Like Shadow wants my help. Oh fuck this guy.
Yeah, they go. They put the disc in the computer, and they're like, face. Well, which face?
The top one.
Yep. But so they're like, look, man, like the disc got hit by a laser beam. Like, it's a lot of it's
what you want me to do about it?
Yeah, or like a lot of it's corrupt, and if I try to recover it, I might just corrupt it more.
Yeah.
And then Nicole is like, okay, but what if we do like some magic science where I send you guys inside of the disc?
And they're like, I played Shadow the Hedgehog. That seems feasible.
I did not make that connection at all, but you're absolutely right about that. Does this connect to anything else in Archie? Like, is there any precedent for them doing this?
No, this is one of the few times where Flint's just like, fuck it, they can do this. They do use this again in the plot though. Like this, this is establishing that this is a thing. Yeah. Which by the way, I mean, they have pseudo fucking magic science. I'm fine with it. I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, here's the thing. It leads to a really great story. So like, it's whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, but yeah. So Sonic and Shadow are going in. Tails and Knuckles are staying behind. They're like, and Sonic even says like, Sonic just needs to shut the fuck up about Fiona. Like, because before he goes in, he goes, cool, and tell Fiona I'm looking for her if you see her. And then as soon as he pops out, the first thing he goes is like, oh, hey, didn't you guys see Fiona? It's like, shut the fuck up about Fiona.
Well, by the way, as soon as he goes in, the first thing he does is goes, Nicole, slay.
Yeah. So they go in. so they go in. And yeah, Nicole is in like a physical Mobian form, and he's like, oh hey, I like the look, and she's like, oh yeah, I've been trying to,
because I know you do.
Jesus Christ.
That's what their faces are making. Don't you lie to me.
Anyway, but so they see someone, and on the monitor, Tails and Knuckles are able to see what they're seeing, but there's an alert because Snively had trackers in his hair. And he's returned for his hair,
which is the greatest, dumbest thing I've ever heard. So this whole issue works on like bullshit logic, but like obviously when you write a story, if you have bullshit logic, you have to like make it clear to the audience or like the best thing to do is make it clear to the audience that you're doing that. So like if an issue is supposed to be like comedic and you're not supposed to take that too seriously, you want to establish like some over the top thing. With this, obviously they're using a bunch of pseudoscience to like get into the machine. So like the actual like plot beats are supposed to be like this. I love the comedy angle of this issue because they're like, well, we want to have some tension for them being in the disc, and then we also want to give Shadow a cool moment at the end. And I love that the way they went about this is that for some reason Shadow was so fucking mad that when he stole Snively's hair, he clenched his fist the entire way to get to by the way, get the book, grab the book. He didn't even like, he's not grabbing with two hands. He grabbed the book, opened it with one hand, and then took the disc out, still holding Snively's hair, ran all the way over here, still holding Snively's hair. And then he's like, oh wait, I'm going to go on a computer. I'll just lay this down.
I have never thought about that.
It is the stupidest, fucking thing ever, and I love it.
I have never thought about the fact that he would have just had to be holding the hair the entire time.
Yeah, and the reason it works is because like you could have wrote this whole issue without Snively. It doesn't change anything. It just gives it a more funny like thing to do.
Yeah,
it's great. Like it leans into the absurd.
absolutely. Yeah, so Snively shows up in a big lobster robot.
And he literally says, "I have an egg lobster and I know how to use it."
Yeah, it's pretty great. And so Knuckles, you know, he goes and fights the egg lobster.
Well, he has a really good moment too, which is that he says, "I know what it's like to be lost without a past. I won't let you take that from Shadow." I just really love that. I love that. Obviously, Knuckles' whole life is fucking screwed because of his past and people not telling him things. So I really love that Flynn decided, you know what? I'm going to give Knuckles, just if it's for a page, give him an emotional reason he would want to protect Shadow, and it's that I can relate to him, and I don't want him to like be lost. Which is great. That makes Knuckles seem really cool, and that's 2 for 2 for Knuckles because Knuckles comes off really well in the issue before too.
Yes. But so inside the diary we see it's who is it? It was Maria, because duh. And so they're like, oh hey, you know, and so they have like a nice reunion, and it's really like they sell them like, and it's weird because Shadow and Maria did not have a relationship in this continuity at all. They did not know each other, like but like the way they talk here is it's like it's really nice. Like she's like, oh Shadow, like it's good seeing you again. Like who are your friends? Like
like they don't talk like they're longtime friends. They talk like just like Shadow. Like they make it's less so, oh, longtime friends are talking, and more so like, oh, look how nice Maria is. Like Maria's just a really kind person, you know?
Yeah. And honestly, and the bit, I really like the small bit where she's like, who are your friends? And Shadow goes, friends?
Yeah, friends. Well, like, but the way he looks, he's like a lost puppy. Like, friends? I have those? Oh,
yeah.
That's cool.
And
by the way, Sonic's just a dick. Yeah, hi, we're still here.
yeah.
Sonic, shut the fuck up.
to be fair, you do need a guy to be like, look, the world is literally crumbling around us.
That's what Nicole can do. Shut the fuck up, Sonic. Don't be an asshole. So actually, you could say I love you, but you know.
But yeah, so like, all right, well, we need to get some answers. And so they go and they talk to Gerald, who it's interesting because I don't read Robotnik. Sorry, I should clarify. I don't read Eggman with Mike Pollock's voice. I read him with like kind of Jim Cummings and Dean Bristow. I read them like with them kind of alternating.
Yeah.
I read Gerald with Mike Pollock's voice. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because Mike Pollock has a bit more of like a mellow like tone as opposed to the other like Eggmans. I don't know, but just say that.
No, I always like thinking of like what voices people use because it changes how you view the scenes and stuff. Like if I'm reading this and it's like, no worries, Nicole, they're busy fighting the Zorda. They won't be coming here anytime. Thanks, thank you, Batman. And then if Shadow is going, so what am I then? A cure? A weapon? It's like, thank you, Sonic Boom.
Yeah. But so Sonic's like, can we get the abridged version of this? Of Shadow's tragic backstory.
Fine. Two panels it is.
Yeah. And so he's like, hey, I made you with the Black Arms DNA to be the protector of Mobius and to be Maria's cure. So he gives like the whole lowdown. It's very similar to like how it is in the games. Like, but they make a point to say like, so Nicole goes like 50 years. So they're later, and
You're
then
like real late.
This is part of like kind of the genius of the previous issue is that they had the very quick like economical. Is that a word? It is now.
Yeah, economic storytelling.
Of like having the Black Arms be fighting the Zorda. So it's like the Zorda, don't worry about them. Like,
well, it also works for the Zorda too because the Zorda like they wanted to kill all of us, so it kind of would make sense that they might find out that they didn't accomplish that because it seems like they just dropped the quantum dial and they're like, yeah, that'll probably work. So it's a good way to get both of the aliens that want to kill us out of the way.
Yeah, but so it's a good way of like, cause like Shadow's backstory is for all intents and purposes like the same. He was made by the same people for the same reasons. Just like we don't have to worry about them coming back for now, at least. I mean, they never will, but like maybe at some point they would have had them. I don't know, but so
they do it. Yeah, I do wonder if like the reboot arc was eventually going to happen in pre-boot.
I mean, you'd think at some point, but regardless. So Shadow goes like, so Shadow's basically like, that didn't answer my fucking question.
What do I put on my driver's license?
Yeah, so it's like, so what am I then? A cure, a weapon? Here, I'll just read the quote. You're a savior, Shadow. I'm so sorry so much is to be put on your shoulders, but you are well prepared. You were created with my love for the people of Mobius. so that you may protect them.
And it's like, oh, Gerald, the girl next to you gets shot, and then you want to fall. But thanks for them.
Yeah. But so yeah, basically then they're like, thankfully he was able to get all that out because like everything's fucked, everything's disappearing.
Yeah. Well. By the way, it's really creative that it's fading into the white of the page, like if this were just like a normal piece of paper. So that's just like a really clever thing.
Yeah. And I was mistaken. There were 3 times that these issues made me tear up, and
they do it again.
Time number 3, which is and like this scene gets me every time, where Maria and Gerald are fading away, and Sonic's like, "Dude, we gotta go," and Shadow's like, "No, I can't leave Maria again." And she goes, "You have to go and protect everyone now, and you'll always have me." And he goes, "If I hold you in my heart, goodbye." And then you get a panel of him like looking back like one last time, and then they run through the door. And it's great, man.
Yeah. What I really like about it is, so again, this is really clever because it's like a sleight of hand basically, because like in your head you would think like, okay, now Shadow needs to like save the world, that's what he's supposed to do, got it. But Flynn remembers, oh wait, we need to care about that. So like, why would I care about like Shadow wanting to save the world because Gerald says, hey, you got to do that? Like who fucking cares, right? At that point it would just be, okay, now I know Shadow's character bio. But no, they make it very human, because the idea is that he learns who he is. He's told, you're a savior, you have to protect people. Okay, cool. And so we can leave, right? But he goes, no, I have questions. And then, but what he lands on is, I can't leave Maria again. So he knows his purpose now, but he still wants to hold on to like, I can't let this little girl die again, basically. And so then she tells him to leave by being like, hey, you need to go and fulfill your, what you're supposed to do. You can do that, and you'll always have me because I'll be in your heart. So when Shadow comes out and he's like, I'm the protector of Mobius, it's not just, well, Shadow found out who he is, so I'm gonna do that. Instead, it's Maria believed in me that I could do that, so I'm gonna do it. Which is really good writing.
Yeah, and so they pop out of the thing, and
Ditto.
So
Fiona.
yeah, he fucking mentions Fiona again. And so then they're like, Snivelly's attacking. He wants his hair back. And so Shadow runs over, he grabs the hair. And then I will say, they kind of punk out Knuckles a little here in service of this moment for Shadow, but it's a cool moment for Shadow.
But Knuckles does things all the time, so.
Yeah, it's fine. So Shadow one-hit KOs.
Knuckles had returned to Angel Island.
Yeah. So Shadow one-hit KOs the egg lobster. He buzzsaws it in half with a spin dash.
Oh, and by the way, to be fair, Knuckles did rip off one of its arms, so.
That is true. And he stands on top of it over Snively, throws the hair in his face, and Flynn basically gets to write. So for those of you who haven't played Shadow the Hedgehog, at the end of every all of the 10 stories that you have to play, Shadow gets like a little speech where he describes like who he is based on the playthrough you just did.
Yeah.
And in this, he says, I am Shadow the Hedgehog. I am the union of ideals, dark and benign, but ultimately built in the name of love. I am the ultimate life form. I am the protector of Mobius. Run home to your master and tell him, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Which was also a cut song from Shadow the Hedgehog. Unfairly snubbed.
This is who I am.
Dude, that song is so fucking good.
It's very good. So to add to your point about Sonic fans are cowards for not liking this Shadow, I'm going to take it a step forward and say that Archie Sonic fans are cowards, because what they will usually do with this is when people want to say like Archie Shadow is really good, they will take this panel and they will conveniently cut out the fact that as Shadow is giving like this heartfelt speech, he is throwing hair on a bald man, and it's very cringe. And people will like remove that and they'll be like, look how fucking badass he is. Like, no, guys, the scene isn't just like Shadow's a badass. The scene is supposed to be heartfelt because Shadow is a cheesy, sincere little boy. Like, the whole thing is that he's like, yeah, I know who I am. I was made from darkness and love, bitch. Like, he's having a great old time. And it's punctuated by like this funny little imagery of like him throwing the hairs, because as the Shadow is going to keep going, the Shadow is full of insecurities and sincerity and like all these different things he has to deal with, which is very different from the game Shadow. But like, that is what makes this Shadow so compelling, is that he is like kind of a dork, and so like a lot of times, again, when people like use the scene, they'll use it as like, Shadow's so fucking badass. I'm like, guys, he's throwing hair on a man. It's also supposed to be a little cheesy, and that's like intentional. It is supposed to be that Shadow is like, yeah, I know who I am. I fucking they love me. I love everything. I'm gonna fucking kick your ass. Get out of here, nerd. It's like, yeah, and it's like I don't look at that and go it's cringe. I look at that and go that's adorable. You know, like you really feel good for Shadow that like he's finally figured out who he is. And it also really helps that the previous writers have established that Shadow isn't like a super duper powerful character at this point because forget run home to your master, Snively. Shadow, why don't you just like go over there and like chaos blast him or whatever?
Yeah. But
which I mean, to be fair, the Eggman in this series has like so many weapons, so it's not even like he could really do anything. But
yeah, but
but yeah, no, I really like it. So you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, it's just like everything you said. It's great. Like you said, this is very different from Game Shadow, but also, guys, Game Shadow was 5 years old at the time this came out. Like, I think is something that is important to remember. And like, Game Shadow was pretty fucking shaky. Like, we went from evil Shadow who redeems himself at the end of SA2 to Amnesia Shadow to whatever the fuck Shadow the Hedgehog was doing I mean, is this still 2006? Like,
this is like either 2006 or early 2007.
I think it still had the 15th anniversary logo on it. So like Sonic 06 where we have like Gun Agent Shadow might not have even been out at this point. So like Sega didn't even know what they were doing with Shadow. So like the point is like
at the very least the English dub definitely didn't. The Japanese version's a bit more understandable, but like the English version's like all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My point simply is like I guess I would say like to people like this isn't faithful to Shadow. It's like they didn't have much to go on. And
well, so if you're mad that this isn't faithful to Shadow, I really hope you haven't been reading the rest of the comic because the whole point of this comic is that it just does whatever it wants with the characters, and that's why I like it. Because if I wanted the game versions of the characters, I would just play the games. The comics are so fascinating because they can do anything they want, and they can give you these unique takes on the characters that aren't going to overtake the game characters. That's why spin-offs are fun, because the whole point of this Shadow ends up being now he has his purpose. Now he has this thing he's supposed to do. But how can he do that when this isn't Game Shadow? Game Shadow's like a badass. But as we've established, Comic Shadow can't even escape like two Sonic Heroes robots chasing him because he can't like teleport long distances. If he has Chaos Spear, then I don't think like he knows how to use it very well. He clearly doesn't know how to do like Chaos Blast. Oh, well, actually, no, we know this because during the fight the arc with the
metal Sonic Troopers, he was like just learning how to do
it. He's like just learning his powers. So there's a lot of stuff with that.
I mean Archie Shadow is best Shadow. We'll see more of that going forward. He has a lot of really cool stuff in Shadow Saga and Treasure Team Tango, and all of which we'll get to. But also I'll do the plug for you, Ian. Ian just worked on a video with Low Art where they go into more about Archie Shadow. I haven't watched it yet because, as I said earlier, we're reading through this stuff. But you all should go watch it if you want to hear more about Archie Shadow. Yep. But anyway, so
now
then
even more stuff.
But so, oh boy. So then they're like, all right, well, Sonic's like,
where's my girlfriend?
Right. God damn it, Sonic. But before we get to that, we have a couple pages of Sonic Encyclopedia stuff. But then we go into Kidnapolis, where the dingoes are terrorizing people. And who shows up to help but the Destructix?
Oh my gosh, is that Sleuth Doggy Dog?
Whoa! No.
By the way, they're continuing a meme where I don't know if you pay attention to this anytime he shows up, but this is consistent throughout the whole comic. Anytime Drago, who's like the wolf guy, anytime he shows up, he is the only character getting his ass kicked every time.
That's amazing. I've never noticed that. But so the Destructor show up, and Locke is like, what are these guys doing? Like, I mean, I'm not gonna help, but like, why are they helping? And Finitevis is like, hey, I got evil Nazi robot head over here. And
I've got Granddad.
Yeah, what's basically he's like, Locke, go find your brotherhood or whatever, your guys, and I'll watch over Angel Island with my Destructix and with Robot Headman. And just don't worry about it. Just trust me.
In fact, I'll give you a teleporter so you can watch me watch your shit.
Yeah. Trust me, says the most evil man to ever evil.
And I love so much how he gets Locke to do this, which is that Locke's like, I don't know. And then Finitevis is like, well, if you want, I could I could make you talk to your son. He's like, fuck that. And so I love that, as usual, the thing that makes Locke do this is that he refuses to talk to Knuckles, and he basically is just like, no, fuck my son. I'm going to, fine, I'll do it alone, you know? Because he's so prideful. That's just really smart because, like, yeah, they make it clear, like, yeah, this is the most evil man ever. Locke is not amused, but he's like, hey, you can just watch me. Or, you know, I could just ask your son who you have a, you know, maybe a bit of a problem with. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Locke.
Well, Locke will pay for this later. So.
Yeah, Locke will remember this in a body bag.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. But yeah. But and then he's like, Dimitri's like, can you give me a body, please?
Yeah, bro.
He's like, look, I'll get around to it. But right now, I got the Master Arm rolled. I'm gonna bring back Enerjack. It's gonna be super dope.
And also, I really like these silent panels before Locke leaves, where it's like he gets the thing. He's like, I'm gonna check on you frequently, and then there's just like this one silent panel of like him looking down and like seeing everything, and then he's like, all right, fine. And he leaves, and then again, the most evil man ever goes, all too easy.
I love him.
Literal like blood-soaked eyes.
I love him so much. But then finally we're at Archie Sonic number 172, Truth of the Heart. So it opens with Amy trying to beat up Fiona. And what's interesting here is that we reveal that at first I was like, oh, so we're just writing Fiona like a completely different character. But I don't think that's what we're supposed to get from this. I think we're supposed to get like, no, Fiona's a sociopath. Like she was always like this.
Well, we'll get into it, but I really like this issue, and we'll get into it. By the way, I need to establish a really funny thing. So I don't know if you noticed this. It is not that Amy is just like, oh, like she came out of the forest. There is a smoke trail from the base. So she like cartoon ran over here. It's like, I will fucking kill this bitch.
That's amazing.
And then, by the way, this is consistent. Every time she like hits something with her hammer, it creates a heart smoke cloud.
It sure does. Yeah, so they're fighting, and Amy's like, yeah, Tails told me that like Sleuth Doggy Dog like blackmailed you, and that like he was keeping quiet, but like he told me, and so now I'm gonna hit you with my hammer for cheating on Sonic with Scourge and being a piece of shit. And Fiona again just completely has like flipped a switch at this point. Like there's like she's like, oh well, me and Sonic weren't really serious, and she also goes like, the truth gets you hurt, or worse, little girl. But even if you got all of Knothole to testify against me, Sonic would never believe you.
Yeah. And then Sonic's like, yeah, probably not, but like, what of it?
Yeah. And then I love Sonic's bit where he goes, Amy, chill, breathe. Like,
and then I do really appreciate though, after he just said, yeah, I don't really take Amy that seriously. He's like, no, but like for real, thanks for looking out for me. Which I really appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
Like Amy's eyes really big.
Amy's adorable in this issue. And so Sonic goes off into the forest to talk with Fiona, and he's like,
you were gonna interrogate me too?
And he's like, kind of.
So can you can explain the scene, and then I'm gonna break down why it's like fucking genius. So you go ahead.
I mean, so basically, he's like, honestly, you just want to do it? I don't have a lot of notes.
Yeah, I'll explain it. So what is so good about Fiona? So like Fiona in Flynn's run has had Birthday Bash, and then the one issue, like she was in like Darkest Storm, but she didn't do anything. And then she had the one issue where she talked to like Sleuth or whatever, and she had to like give up her info. So, for those who don't know, when Fiona first appeared in the comic, it was in the Knuckles comic, like for real, her robot like met Tails or whatever, which is why he has a crush on her. And he just likes red foxes. So in her original appearance, her whole thing was like, she's like, fuck Sonic, fuck Mighty, fuck all the freedom fighters, I hate all of you. And you go, why? And the reason is that way back in the day, she was like being captured like by SWAT bots and stuff and taken to like an internment camp. And then during a mission to get everybody out, she ended up being left behind accidentally and then like being taken away. And so they couldn't get to her. And so she like blamed Sonic. And so then she was taken somewhere else and she had to escape on her own. And then she had to basically like her family abandoned her too, I think they mentioned. And so she had to live her whole life on the run, basically being a bounty hunter and like needing to be like really tough or whatever. And so that's her character. That's how she's introduced. Then when she shows up in the post-space era, she's just like, here, And she goes, well, I was mad at you. Like she says to Sonic's like, I was mad at you once, but then I saw like you saved the world and I realized like you weren't a bad guy. So like, I'm over it. It's like, oh, well, okay. And then she just kind of hung out. She wanted to use a gun. So I guess she's a little, little gruff, and that's it. That's all Fiona did. And so Flynn, during his run, decided, hey, let's lean into the bounty hunter past. So we have Bark and Bean. So that reminds her of her past. And then people are like suspecting of her. Then we're gonna lean into the fact that they established that she did like date Scourge or whatever, or like he was one of the girls that she was into or whatever, or he was into. And then we're also going to lean into the idea of Fiona has abandonment issues. So what's really, really good about these pages is that they don't establish it of like Fiona's turned evil. What they make this into is that Fiona's a character who is trying to leave her past behind, and she's gotten into all these little mishaps like with the evil Sonic thing. And so when her past comes back to her, whenever she's being interrogated, she says like, what, you're going to interrogate me too? She talks to Amy where she's like, she's like, oh, like you can't trust people. And then as we will get to, whenever she's talking to Tails, and Tails is like, Fiona, I know you can just be good. Just be good, Fiona. And she's like, Tails? And I won't get to the punctuating part. We'll get to that in the story. But she tells Tails like, she's like, you need to learn one very important lesson in life. You can't trust anyone. And so you tie this all into this scene where Sonic is asking her like, hey, you cheating on me or whatever. And she's indignant at him, even though she is cheating on him. So it really paints this whole picture where you have this person who is trying to hide from their past. They meet someone, evil Sonic or Scourge, who doesn't care about their past. And as that's happening and they all these things are, going wrong, she goes back to the thing that's easy. And then in the moment where someone finally confronts her about it, she can't take that. And so she goes, you know what? I'm just going to be what everyone thinks I am. I'm going to be a bitch slap, assault a child. So people always look at this and they're always just like, oh, he just made her evil. I'm like, guys, literally every single fucking thing she says gives her like 5 layers of self-hatred and trying to like defend herself and all these different things. Flynn did not make her into a villain. He made her into an actual fucking character. So, yeah. So I love this issue. I love Fiona. I love how just like her reveling in being evil comes from that place of like trying to not be like hurt. And I love that Scourge is just laughing. He's like, as she bitch slaps Tails, he's in the background going, that's the fucking funniest thing I've ever seen. And yeah. And he's like, there's even like a part where he's like whenever she walks over to Scourge, he's like, yeah, because I'm fucking hot and you're not, Sonic, bitch. And Scourge is the greatest character ever. So I love the story. We'll get to more recap, but that's my thoughts on the Fiona character shift. I think it's really well done. So what do you think?
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I can't really put it more eloquently than you did, but like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like I said, I mean, I think it goes to show, because I said before, like, I mean, a couple episodes ago, like, oh, I like nice Fiona. Like, it sucks that she's gonna be turned evil, and I don't know. I appreciate what they do here, where it's like, yeah, there's a lot going on under the surface.
Yeah, it's not just, oh, he made her evil. Like they just made her a character. Like they gave her. She's also a parallel now, where where Scourge is obviously Sonic. She is now the Sally. So she's the parallel to that. She's gonna get a way cooler outfit going forward. And she just like I just love this idea of like giving her a reason to enjoy being evil. Because it's not that she enjoys being evil like inherently. It's that she enjoys not being hurt. Because even like whenever, because you have the trust thing, and then right after this, she turns on Sonic where she's like, well, you're my prime example. You left me imprisoned. And then I love that the editor's box has to defend Sonic. He's like, completely by accident, by the way.
Yeah.
And also it's very funny that she's leaning on the editor's box. That's very cute.
Where is that?
Whenever Tails says just get him and like Sonic attacks, she is leaning on the editor's box.
Oh, that is fun.
And then it's gone in the next shot.
Yeah. But so basically, yeah, to actually recap the story. So yeah, so they go into the woods. He's like, hey, are you cheating on me? Like, are you evil? And she goes,
no, I'm complicated.
Yeah. And so Scourge shows up and they're like, yeah, she's like, yeah, no, I'm seeing Scourge. And what I love is that like basically so Fiona goes, when I found out that Scourge wasn't the real deal, I tried to find the same attraction in you, Sonic. And he goes, I told her it was a waste of time. Any guy after me is going to be bland. But I love that Scourge just let her do this.
Yeah, he's the greatest thing ever. I'm sorry. Scourge is like the funniest character in existence.
Yeah. He was like, all right. I mean, look, dude, like, all right. If you think so, but
he's like, I'm gonna let her cuck me because I know it'll be that much hotter when she comes back and says, yes, your dick is bigger. Like,
why does it always come back to Scourge's dick with you?
Because it's so funny, man. That's what he'd say if he wasn't in a G-rated comic. By the way, I love the shot of him putting on it. So you brought this up, and I'm so glad you did, because every time I notice it, I appreciate it. Which is, normally you have characters who like might have goggles, like Jak and Daxter. He has goggles, but he like barely uses them past like the first game. In Kingdom Hearts, Goofy has goggles, but he literally never uses them. And so like when you said like, does Scourge ever like wear his glasses? Because I like that. I really do like that when he's trying to be cool, he wears his glasses, and like they keep them on. It just makes him like, it's just cool that he actually uses them. So
yeah, I agree. But so Scourge shows up, and they could have done better with these speech bubbles, because basically Fiona says like, oh yeah, the quotes are, I was hoping you'd be just as much fun, but you're hung up on the whole virtuous hero thing. And Scourge goes, so much for your love life, Blue. Couldn't hold down a princess, you couldn't win over my girl and Amy. Hey, that's a real prize right? Sorry, there's a real prize winner. But Fiona's text bubble is under Scourge's, but you're clearly supposed to read hers first, because Scourge's bleeds over into the next panel. So it's just like, oh, good.
Well, I thought it was supposed to be like, and Amy, just like, yeah, don't get me started on her. And then I thought it was supposed to be that Fiona goes, you're hung up on the whole virtuous hero things, and he goes, huh, yeah, sure, there's a real prize winner. But I think it is supposed to be Amy, but I think it can work both ways, because like, to me, the idea is he's saying like, yeah, you want a virtuous hero, okay.
Yeah, well, because it's Amy ... and then ... hen. Sure, there's hero. Regardless.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Then Tails comes down.
Why do you gotta say that about my girl Amy?
She's
devoted.
Yeah. But then Tails comes down and he's like, Fiona, just don't be evil, please. Like, he's what you said, like, you just have to try a little harder. Like, I know you're good deep down. And yeah, Fiona goes, you gotta learn you can't count on anybody, and just backhands him like 20 feet away. Like, it looks like it fucking hurts.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does hurt both emotionally and physically.
Indeed.
But yeah, and then Sonic goes and he's like, dude, Tails, are you good? And Tails like, just go get him. And so it looks like Sonic's about to beat the shit out of Fiona.
I bet he would.
But like, Scourge obviously cuts him off. And then you have the killing joke scene.
I do gotta shout out this line, which is don't get me wrong, wuss. As much as I like messing with you, I think I actually like Fiona. I mean, all the girls in my home dimension are dark from the get-go, but Fiona, she chooses to be, and that is hot.
That's great. That is great. But yeah, but then we get the killing joke scene where Scourge is like, the reason you hate me is because you're one bad day away from being me.
Yeah. And then I love that the scene is actually an inversion of that, because Sonic doesn't falter. He instead says, no, bitch, you're like one day of like being even slightly a good person of being me, because I'm better than you. And this does not bode well for Scourge's. He took many psychic damage in that moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, but this will linger with Sonic, as we will see much later.
Later, yeah. But that's what it is good to note in this moment. He does not think it's serious, which will make it all the more impactful when he's at a different part in his life. And these words that he was like, no, you're an idiot, they stuck with him, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, but then what happens?
Then Fiona kicks Sonic and she saves Scourge, because Scourge sucks. he can never win.
No, but he always gotta go smiling.
Yeah. But so and then Tails and Amy show up. And they're like, just get the fuck out of here. Like, yeah. So Tails goes, I can't hurt you, Fiona, but I don't care about you, Scourge. And Amy goes, which leaves the backstabbing, heart-wrenching, ugly, stupid, dumb, hairband-wearing traitor to me.
So you tell her.
Damn, Amy, you just gave for this girl's life.
And again, this is what I love about Scourge, is like, even when he loses, he's always just like, Whatever. We had our fun. I didn't even want to be here.
Yeah. He's actually doing kind of like the Sonic 1 pose here.
Yeah, you're right. That's cool. And
Yeah.
I love Amy's line of "good riddance." That bodysuit looks stupid anyway. It's like, dang, you didn't have to do Manny Gallon like that.
Yeah. Who?
It's like the artist who like gave the design to Fiona.
Yeah.
Although I don't even think, actually, it wouldn't have been Gallon. I think it would have been because this would have been post space. So actually, I think it would have been like Stephen Butler. You didn't have to do Stephen Butler like that. Let the man have his fetishes.
Anyway, yeah, so they're like, Sonic's like, hey Tails, you good? And he's like, no, but we'll be okay. But I'm gonna go talk to my mom.
Yep. And they
then
they do a really good setup for Sonic again, which is that Sonic is like, hey, about what you said, like, you can trust me, no one's gonna betray my trust. And Sonic's like, yeah. And Tails is like, yeah, of course, I know that I can trust you. This will be relevant in time.
Yep, it sure will be. But so then Antoine shows up. He's like, hey, what's with Tails? And Sonic's like, like, there's no sigh in there, but I'd love to think there's like, he's just like, dude, it's been a long fucking day. Like,
I like the idea that this happened in the same day as Shadow too. That'd been funny.
Oh my god, dude, that is one packed day. Well, this is sunset, so it could entirely be.
It literally could be.
But yeah, so Antoine's like, but yeah, so he's like Fiona build, and she went with Scourge, and he goes, our enemies grow in number. He's like, Sonic, Amy, come with me. And Sonic's like, well, why? What are you gonna do? And he goes, something I should have done a long time ago. And so you think like, oh, what's Antoine gonna do? Is he gonna go like kill Eggman or something? I don't know.
He goes into his house. He like opens up the Pokeball, and there's like a rifle.
But I guess we'll find out what this big thing Antoine is going to do next time on Sonic Comic Chaos, because we're closing out with a B story about Amy.
Yep,
it's fine.
It's fine. Okay. This is the story that this is the last time this happens, though. But this is the last story where I think that the art basically betrays the entire story, because the story itself I really like, which we'll explain in a sec. But I do just think that it would have just been so much better if like Yardley had done this, because the character designs look really weird. And sometimes they're trying to like basically the big thing is just the expressions. A lot of times they're trying to like give off different expressions, and the person is just not as good at like getting that range out of the characters. So when you have these characters like saying these kind of definitive statements, like Julie Sue talking about Knuckles, or or Amy talking about Sonic, you want to kind of show that emotion and that connection that they have. But like they just kind of look like, yeah, I'm generally happy that I am in a relationship or not in a relationship. And I think it hurts the story, because then it just kind of feels like, okay, well, whatever. So, which sucks. It's not like a terrible story, but I do just think that the content itself is good, but the art just really would have helped this a lot, which means that even though like I think it's a good moment for Amy, we'll talk about it. It just never, and Julie Sue, which I like her talking about Knuckles, but it just never sticks in my head as like a story I even remember, just because I think the art is just awkward.
Yeah, well, that's weird, because like, and like that's a problem, because this is like informing Amy's entire character.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is like, so basically, to give a quick synopsis of the story, Amy asked Julie Sue for like extra like training, because she wants to be a really strong, cool freedom fighter to win Sonic's affection. And Julie Sue is like, well, you should try to be strong for yourself. You shouldn't want to be strong for Sonic. And Amy kind of turns down her head, where it's like, well, no, I want to be the strongest, coolest freedom fighter ever, and then Sonic will be the only person good enough for me. You see, it's like, okay,
yeah. So it's like. It's like it gives Amy like it's like oh, basically it's the same thing, but at least like she has a like they don't frame it as like, oh, you go Amy. They frame it as just like, okay, Amy, I get it, fine. It kind of shows her like more immature side, but in like a kind of like an endearing way.
Yeah, but and then they all run off into the sunset, and yep.
Yeah, and like I think the big thing I don't like, because I think Amy looks pretty okay, but I think the problem I have is there's one page where it's supposed to be like, well, like you and Knuckles get along really well, and like Knuckles and Julie Sue, we haven't really had them for a while. Last time would have been like Return to Angel Island, so I think it would have been really good in the Flynn era. to show their connection, which we will be getting that soon. But this is a moment where Julie Sue is specifically like, her whole thing, she's like a tomboy, but she's like, no, like the thing about Knuckles is that like he's the only guy who like I feel like I can actually like be a little mushy with, and like that's important to me and that's special. And they like even call back to like a scene from the Knuckles comic, but because it like looks so jank, like when she's smiling about it, it just kind of looks like she's like, memories, but like like it doesn't come across as like I feel like if Yardley would have drawn that, it would have came across either more romantic or it came across as more sentimental. Whereas as it is now, it's just like, yep, this sure is like a janky Sonic comic.
Yeah.
So that's where I think the art kind of fails it. Because otherwise, I like the dialogue, I like the back and forth, I like the whole idea of like them fighting on these poles, and she like lands on the hammer and like is balancing. So there's like cool things happening and like fun little interactions. But yeah, I just don't think the art helps in any way.
Yeah, I don't think they should be fighting on these poles. It didn't work out very well for Ranma. But
no, I don't see any water, so we're okay.
Okay. But yeah, then they run off, and then that is the end of this issue, and that is the end of this episode. We made it, folks. What are we at? Oh god, this is over 2 hours long. Well, I hope you all enjoyed. Next, actually, so Ian, we're at a bit of a croissant here. So there is a free comic book day issue that apparently takes place before Eggman Empire.
We can read that if you want. It is pretty fun, but it's not really like that in Tag Girl. But we can't talk about it.
Here's the thing: I don't care about like how long it'll take to read. How long will it take to discuss?
Not very, because the whole issue. So the whole issue is that since it's a free comic book day, most of the pages are like Sonic will be like, "Oh, hello, it is Bunny Rabbit and Antoine de Couliet," and like because it's supposed to get like people who don't know who these characters are into it. But all it is just Sonic fights Knuckles, and then there's one really cool thing with Eggman. So it's pretty quick.
Right. And then there's some secret rings thing as well. But okay.
You don't have to read that. That's just like a game tie-in comic.
Well, yeah, but look, do you want this to be comprehensive or not?
No.
At least he's honest.
I would be fine if we did like an episode where we talk about all the game tie-ins, because there's a bunch of times where where before they would adapt all the games, now they said fuck that, and they make it to where anytime they want to adapt the game, they just put like in another time, in another place. And they do this for, I think, like 10 different games over the course of even like Reboot. And so we could just do an episode where we talk about like the miscellaneous issues.
I guess. Would there really be anything talking like Sonic shows up in the Arthurian world and Tracy Yardley draws it so the Knights of the Round Table looks kind of cool?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like I don't know if there's an episode.
Okay, well, even better. We don't have to talk about it.
we could just talk about them as they come up. I don't know why you're being so obstinate about this.
Fine.
Anyway, I'm gonna go take a nap or something, folks. Ian, plug your shit.
Ian Waffles. You can find me at Ian Waffles on YouTube and Twitter. And then on the channel Low Art, where we are doing more analysis on the Sonic characters. And by the time this is out, the Scourge video should be out. So go watch that. And thanks for having me as usual. It was a fun time.
Yeah. The last episode was probably late because we're recording this on the day I was supposed to edit it, and I didn't edit it, so it'll probably be either a couple days late or a whole week late. I don't know, so sorry about that. But so I'm here. I'm on Twitter at SilverAce01. You can follow me there for my just inane ramblings. Fellas, I hate to break it to you, but I don't think hashtag Madam Web 4 Secret Wars is going anywhere. It doesn't seem like Dakota Johnson's really on board for that. But hey, we gave it a good shot.
Watch Ranma.
God, fuck. Yeah, you can go just watch watch me like fall off a cliff with that fucking show. A lot of rambling about Spider-Man. Just a whole package. So you can go do that. And yeah, come back next time when we talk about the Eggman Empire arc. That arc is dope as fuck. And bye.
Bye.